You guys, it's the kid, 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 it's the kid. It's Thursday, and what does Thursday mean? It means you've got Denzel here, and you've got White Jesus to my right of your screen here, or Gabriel Batistuta, whichever one you pick in there. So, look, man, this is another top 10 again for you guys, man. And we thought that, seeing that there has been this big news of the Snyder Cut coming out, it was only apt for us to do a comic book themed one. So for this, and I believe you missed, was it the top 10 comic book movies that you missed?
It was, yes, unfortunately I did.
Yeah, it was that one. So it's actually good that we actually have you for this one now, knowing your comic book knowledge. So you know what? Let's do a whole MCU thing. So guys, this is how the show is going to go. It's going to be in two parts. So the first part, you know what it is if you've been viewing the Thors in the past few weeks. Top 10. I pick a one. Machine picks, and we talk about it. Machine picks, when we talk about it, and we go from 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 8, 8, all the way to our number one. Then once we're done with that, we're going to have a nice open discussion about the Snyder Cut. As we all know, the Snyder Cut has been released. It's going to be released next year. It's been announced. And I have some very strong words to people who are behind the whole Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder himself, the Marvel versus DC thing, and just the state of DC and the DCEU moving forward. So, Machine, so for you, first of all, because people always ask this, is your list in order?
Yes, it is in order, yeah.
Okay. So, because that's always the first thing people are worried about. So, yes, guys, I'm eating, relax, just chill. So, was this hard coming up with this list, or?
I mean, they're all fairly hard. The hardest thing about it is that I don't recall all these movies that well because, as I was saying, prior to the stream getting started, I think a lot of them are pretty forgettable. It's a mixture between how forgettable they are and the Alzheimer's that's kicking in my old age. But yeah, I had to go run through the internet and remind myself of the plot elements and all that, and go, oh, okay, so that's what Civil War was, and that's what that was, and put them all in order in my mind, and then figure out which one left me the best impressions. And I think I got a pretty solid list, and even if I were to rewatch them and have them very fresh in my mind, I think they would be pretty much in this order.
Okay, I mean, for me, to be honest, I'm not. There are some really good MCU films. There's some films that I actually really enjoyed and which I have on DVD, but I wouldn't call myself an MCU fan. I think I would say I don't like, and I pretty much dismiss about 85 to 90% of the MCU films, and maybe about 4 or 5. I would say are actually ones that I actually really like. I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. So, and I think, and for me, this is more so an objective list of taking everything into account. What I think is the best based on the quality of the film, its impact, and how well it did with what it was trying to do. And some people may be surprised that there's this one superhero where not a single film of his solo films are on my list. And people can pretty much know who they are. So let us go without further ado. Oops, coming. So without further ado, let me put my thing. So, Machine, you can kick things off. So what is your number 10, Mr. Machine?
My number 10. My number 10 is the Avengers, the original The Avengers.
Oh, wow.
You're surprised you think it's pretty high up, no? High up in the sense
quite low.
Huh?
It's quite low. For MCU, it's quite low.
Okay, yeah, but I thought that it was a flawed movie. It was full of Whedonisms. It featured a main villain who I rate very lowly. Not in terms of the character himself, because I think Loki is a fantastic villain. I just think that Tom Hiddleston is a terrible actor, and he really hams it up and detracts from the character. And then there's just bogus scenes in the movie. like what's her name? Scarlet Joe, ScarJo. What's Black
Johansson.
Widow? Black Widow outwitting the god of deceit and the god of lies, and I mean that was just ludicrous. You remember that scene in the when like Loki is imprisoned and
Oh yeah. And then she's like, I've got some kind of, this is where she talks about her very dark past and everything. And she's trying to like extract information from Loki, and she's sort of like
she manages to outwit him and like outdo him in his own game. Like the god of mischief is out mischieved by ScarJo, and what else? I mean, it was fun to see for the first time. It was like a big, unique, novel. Sort of tentpole sort of extravaganza, but it's aged considerably, and I think it's not as good as people say it is. I mean, the beginning sequence is terrible as well.
But what about its impact based on when it was first released? Don't you think that it was quite impactful based on its first release?
Absolutely, but it's not. If I were to rewatch everything, I would rate it way above Avengers 2. But I would still not rate it above these other films that I listed. It's I almost want to feel. I almost feel like talking about my number 9 because it was neck and neck. I didn't know which order to place these movies in, but I sort of enjoyed the other one more. I think.
No, for me, I think that, look, again, I don't want to reveal my list and everything, but I think Avengers is very flawed. Joss Whedon isn't the greatest filmmaker, but for me, I feel that what he achieved in Avengers was pretty damn good. Because you know what I always say? When I heard of the idea they were doing an Avengers film, I thought it was stupid. When I saw the trailer, it looked stupid. Before I went to go see the film, I thought this film is going to be completely stupid. So I have to give credit to him in how he somehow made it strangely believable. And it somehow worked when it shouldn't have worked. Like, it should have been stupid. It should have been where, like, I'm going to laugh at this whole thing. And the fact that I found myself wanting to laugh at it, wanting to mock it, and I didn't, that in itself is a triumph in and of itself. So, you have to sort of like give it props for that, man.
Yeah. I'm torn now that I mentioned it. I'm torn about like the order of 10 and 9. I should have placed 9 and 10 and 10 and 9. But yeah, I've said my piece now, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay, but basically, when you see my list, you'll see. But that's because we'll see. All right. So my number 10, I think you hate this film. When last we talked, I think you hate this film, and I think your hate for this film, I think, is unwarranted. Now, the sequel, it is what it is, because I've not even seen the sequel of this film because the sequel looks trash. Okay. But my number 10 is Ant-Man.
Oh, I think that's my choice. Is the worst. Is the very worst.
What's the name of your boy? Clueless. The lead character for Ant-Man. What's the actor's name?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. Which way? Have you seen Clueless?
I mean, when I was like in 4th grade.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, because that's the first time
he's released the Silverstone.
Yeah, and Stacey Dash.
And Stacey Dash is
Stacey Dash. well, see, I can say Stacey Dash. You can't. So
okay. yeah.
Right. So you can zip. So my thing is, this isn't the greatest film, hence why it's my number 10. But this utilized Paul Rudd to the best of his abilities, and for me, see, Paul Rudd is 90s comedy. He's not comedy of now. And what I like about Paul Rudd is he reminds me of how they used to do comedy back in the day, where it was subtle and about those kind of little moments and everything. And the beauty about that was that this played to Paul Rudd's strength. The film of it, because look, even if I'm not a fan of his films, I think the guy who did, oh gosh, what was it called? He works with Simon Pegg a lot. And he did
Tom Cruise.
no. The director, English director.
Oh, right, the guy who did Hot Fuzz and everything.
Yes, that guy. He was supposed to do this, but there were creative differences, and 100%, I believe that if he had done this, he would have made a more interesting film. This film just felt very safe. And it didn't.
And it's an interesting concept, you know. But I'll go.
You see, Machine, because obviously you're older than me, but we're sort of in the kind of same bracket. Do you remember Inner Space?
No, but I remember Honey, I Shrank the Kids, which is, I'll take that over Ant-Man any day.
No. Basically, this is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. This is Inner Space. This is where you can go to the comedic lengths that you can go to are endless.
What they should have done is they should have cast Rick Morales.
Right, yeah.
They should have cast Rick Morales as Hank Pym.
No. If they do that, then it's an Oscar-winning film.
Then immediately.
Because then Rick Morales is going to at least get an Oscar nomination, because Rick Morales in this, then that's just too much. Like, you're just going overboard. You're going overboard. But so I think even if it didn't go as far as it could have, because it's a concept that is literally begging for comedy. It still did enough for me to just about make it number 10, because most MCU films, I think, are trash. So this being number 10 doesn't mean that it's a great film, but I still think that it's a cool idea, and Paul Rudd is so good in it and leads it so well. And Michael Douglas is also pretty good, that I think it's just enough for me to make it my number 10. So Ant-Man gets that number 10 sneak back for moi. So we are now in numero nuevo. So Machine.
Numero nuevo, and I'm sorry to the audience, but if I could, I would have switched the order in this between 9 and 10, as I said. But I'll tell you why. When I was putting together the list initially, I rated this as number 9. And the movie, by the way, is Thor, the original Thor. The reason is because when I watched Thor, there was still some excitement about seeing a new superhero movie. To me, that by the time I got to Avengers, it somehow fizzled out a little bit. But if you think about it, Avengers is a superior movie because it has scenes that are just better. Even if it's the scenes of the tension between Captain America and Iron Man, or the fight between Iron Man and Thor, the final sequence with the invasion of all that is more exciting than anything in Thor. But I really like the Asgard scenes in Thor, right?
Thor.
Yes, Thor. And I really liked Odin.
Anthony Hopkins' performance in Odin is one of the most underrated performances of all time. Just that he's in a garbage film, an absolute garbage film, and Chris Hemsworth is a standard beach boy from the road actor. But which is why it's so annoying, because Machine, imagine if they made Thor in the same vein as Gladiator, with that same kind of gravitas, and imagine if everybody was on the same acting wavelength as Anthony Hopkins. You'd have an amazing film. So basically, what Anthony Hopkins was doing with Odin is what I thought Thor was going to be.
Well, it's bizarre that actually Kenneth Branagh, they got Kenneth Branagh to direct the movie, who you would think would add some kind of prestige and some kind of, he comes from a Shakespearean background, from what I understand, and is a very serious British man, supposedly. And then he turns out a fairly a really by the numbers adaptation of Thor. But there were some scenes that I liked. I liked everything to do with the ice people, the giants. I liked those scenes. I don't like Loki. Again, I have to reiterate how much of a poor actor I think that guy is. What's his name again?
Hemsworth.
No, even way worse is Loki. I hate to tell you.
Oh,
You don't
oh,
think Tom Hiddleston is way worse than Hemsworth?
actually, no, I think you're crazy for saying that. But funny story. I was in the underground in London, just going through,
Mm-hmm.
and then I then see Tom Hiddleston with someone else. Like, oh my gosh, Tom Hiddleston in London. Oh wow! Now, I wasn't looking for his autograph. I was just going to approach him to be like, "Hey, it's you." Literally, as I approach,
Anyway.
no. As I approach him, he says, "Oh, sorry, I'm outside working hours." I'm like, what does that mean? Because I didn't even say anything. As I said, wait a minute. First of all, I'm not even asking for, but what does I'm outside working hours mean? So there are times when you don't. So these are my hours where I'll give an autograph and a photo, and these are times when I would. I'm like, bro, they're literally 6 people in the underground because this was like around like 11 p.m. late at night. So and I was, because I don't really rate it that highly, but if I was asking for an autograph or a phone, you couldn't do it. There's no crowd here, so I've just found that weird.
Yeah, and you didn't even actually speak to him. You were just like, and then he's like, "Oh, sorry."
I did not say a single word. I just literally just approached, and he was obviously just assuming I was going to ask for an autograph, and he was like, "Oh no, sorry, I'm outside. I'm walking house." I was like, "Okay."
But listen, you should actually watch this thing in the Graham Norton show where he does impressions of people, and it's one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, he there's this English show called Graham. You know Graham Norton is like this big talk show host in England.
That's what I just said, Graham Norton.
Yeah, because he was doing one of De Niro.
No, check it out. But it's like, but he does multiple ones, and it keeps getting worse and worse and more cringe-inducing because he's so bad.
No,
But I really think he's a terrible, terrible actor, and really detracts from what could be one of the most interesting MCU villains.
Are you a fan of like Shakespeare or like posh acting?
Yeah, I can be. I mean, if you rate Anthony Hopkins as that, then I would say yes.
Because
that's not what Hiddleston is doing. Is some Saturday morning cartoon shit. It's not even. There's nothing. It's it's much campier than the Shakespearean.
Okay. So what is it specifically? What is it about his portrayal that sort of rubs you the wrong way?
It's just over the top. It's hammy. It's let me see if I can think of something. Even when he's going like, "I am a god, I am the god, I am a god," you know, and then the Hulk like grabs him and just like smashes him around and shit. It's one of those Whedonisms where like people are interrupted mid-sentence and something unpredictable happens. But when he's doing that spiel, even that is way too over the top. It's like, "Unhand me, I am the god of." It's very effeminate as well. You know?
But what if, now I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, what if that is what Kenneth Branagh was going for? It's like, I want that he was egging him on to be like, I want you to be over the top. I want you to be very expressive and so forth.
I don't think he's. It was Branagh's direction. I've seen him in other things. He seems like he's fairly one note, and the things that irritate me about his portrayal in Loki carry on to other performances. But you know, what would have been a really good Loki is Benedict Cumberbatch.
Do you know what it is? It's so funny you say this. I recognize Cumberbatch as a good actor. There's something about him that just rubs me the wrong way. I'm like, I can't call him a bad actor, but he just gives a vibe that I just don't like. I don't know what it is.
Well, but that's good for a villain. he's got something. There's something askew about him. You know what I mean? Something,
No. Basically, for me, there's something that is. It's not like it's not his own. There's something beneath and something sinister. There's just something that I just don't like.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, no, like, yeah, I just don't. He seems just very smarmy and very much like very snobbish. So even if he's playing a character, he still has a very snobbish, you know, and just something about combat that just rubbed me the wrong way. But I would say though that I would say he is probably a better actor technically than Tom Hiddleston, I'd say, you know. And also like, and then maybe to support your point, what other great performances has Tom Hiddleston done apart from Loki? Because Cumberbatch has Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the thing where he plays that kind of wartime dude, I can't remember what it's called.
The Enigma Machine thing.
Imitation Game.
Imitation Game, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, so he's done other stuff beyond just MCU. Okay, but okay, that's fair. That's fair. Now, for my numero nuevo, you might be shocked with it because I think you have this a lot higher than I do. Okay. But it is what it is for me. And I think most people will be shocked by how low I have this. Iron Man. The first Iron Man. The film that launched it. Wait, so are you shocked that I have it too low, or?
I'm disappointed but not surprised.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a very good film, a really good film. I just feel that there are other films that are better than this. I'm not just looking at my list. Yeah, I just feel that there are other films that are better than this film, personally speaking. And I think that the reason why it's not higher, because look, it's launched the MCU. It's reinvigorated Robert Downey Jr.'s career. It's set the stage for what this whole MCU world building would be. It's very well paced. There really isn't a bad scene. You could say that nothing slows down in the whole film. So it's like a good, solid watch. But beyond that, it doesn't really do anything to sort of take any risk, which is fair enough because this was the first film in the MCU and they couldn't really risk taking risks in this first film. So I get it, but it is what it is. It's still a very safe film. But whereas Ant-Man is safe, I feel that this had more style and more finesse than Ant-Man did. You know, and also I think you've got to give a shout out to Stan Winston. I think two things about this is Stan Winston's amazing design of the Iron Man outfit. And the second thing is Downey Jr. Like, he was born for this role. And this was where Downey, because really, I think Downey Jr.'s best performance is probably where he is, oh gosh, what's the name of that dude? Chaplin. That's probably his best performance because he actually had to play performance. This is just Downey Jr. He's not really acting in this. It's just him, but him on like steroids. So, but it was great casting because you could have cast a straight man and a very boring one-dimensional dude, but by going with Downey Jr., who has such a very particular kind of idiosyncratic personality, it's really so now when you think of Tony Stark, you think of Downey Jr. You don't think of the guy in the comics. You think of Downey Jr. He has pretty much redefined how we now view Tony Stark. And let's keep it real. Before Downey Jr., no one was checking for Tony Stark or Iron Man.
Yeah, he put Iron Man on the map for sure.
He put him on the map.
He made Iron Man an A-lister, whereas before, even in the comics, he was sort of
C-list.
B+. No, he was in Z-list, but he was like a B+. You know? Not quite A. But yeah, I don't want to say too much because obviously I have it in my list somewhere. So I'll offer my own impressions on the film once we get to it.
Okay. So,
but I do think you rated it a bit low.
It is what it is. And I think you put Avengers a bit too low myself. So touche. So your number 8.
All right. So number 8 is Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think is it's entertaining. It offered a new spin on and a new approach, a totally different, just a feel to the MCU. Obviously, more comedic than anything else that came before it. Probably was very influential in the sense that many subsequent MCU films adopted that kind of comedic tone. Some with more success than others. But what I liked about the film was that it had one of my favorite villains, actually, who is Ronan the
Don't you feel that he wasn't? Because I think that it was, I've forgotten the name of the actor. I think it was a great design, great actor.
But that's all you need.
That he wasn't.
That's all you need because listen, people talk about the best MCU villains. They're all shit. That's the truth of it. And this one at least had a good design, sounded freaky and spooky, and looked threatening. And that's really all you need from a villain sometimes. And he
so you don't think that he was underdeveloped?
He was a bit, but it's some characters don't need all that much development. They just need to exude an air of threat, and they did so successfully in Guardians by building up this guy, while at the same time having this other shadowy figure looming above him, in Thanos. That I liked how they built up to Thanos. You know what I mean? And how Guardians helped do that in sort of mythologizing and aggrandizing the Thanos character by introducing him in short spurts. And what else did I like? I mean, I liked the humor is definitely very hit and miss for me. Mostly miss, but sometimes I do get it. Mostly miss the humor, yeah. But when it hits,
you're definitely getting old, man. Old fogey, man.
And it's just the whole Drax stick. I think is very repetitive. Drax the Destroyer, how he only takes things literally and stuff, and sometimes you know what? Like I actually. The sequel, the humor is even more miss to me. But in some ways, it's a better film. But I digress.
Sequel?
Yes.
Oh no, the sequel was awful to me. So he says, look, I think this is directed at you machine. There's Obsidia Stane, Vulture, Winter Soldier, Baron Zemo, and Thanos.
Okay, can I go through them? Obadiah Stane is just some bald guy in a suit. Vulture should never have been played by your boy Michael Keaton. Winter Soldier is just boring as it comes. Baron Zemo is a brick, and Thanos. That's it, man. Thanos is a decent villain, and that's about it.
Wow, man.
All right. Are you going to tell me any of these villains are amazing? Obadiah Stane.
For me, I liked, even if he wasn't very well. You see, what you say about Homeboy, the dude in Guardians of the Galaxy, is how I view Obadiah Stane. That even if you didn't see much of him, he had much more of a lasting effect on me than any of the other villains. I thought Keaton was really good as Vulture. Winter Soldier, I liked his look, and that's all you need because he didn't say anything. Winter Soldier, he just had such a good look, and he was so well presented that was fine. Baron Zemo, okay, I get it. Yeah, he was there, but I think it was cool. Thanos, we'll get to Thanos. We'll get to Thanos.
Do you know what? Vulture, this would have been the greatest casting of all time. But you remember the guy that played Ace Ventura's landlord in the first one?
Oh, Mark Margolis.
Mark Margolis, yeah, I guess, I hear animals in their haze scooping around. That guy should have been the Vulture.
Yeah.
The Vulture's supposed to be an octogenarian with like avian features, with a hook nose and and sort of hunched over and stuff. That's what's cool about the Vulture, is that he's like an old man, a feeble old man fighting a teenager. It's sort of something.
But I think Keaton just brought. It was interesting. It was something like how he was cast as Batman. Is you wouldn't think he'd play Vulture, but when you just see what he did, he just gave you he gave a different spin and a different look as how you would present Vulture. And I thought that it's just worked for the film and the way they were going for. So, who is your best? Who are your best villains as an example?
Did we ever do
a
top 10 villains or no? Or we should definitely do that.
Okay. You know what? Don't say it. We'll do top 10 villains.
No, I will say this though. I rate the Emperor above Vader.
You will be surprised how many people do. A lot of people hold the Emperor as their favorite character in Star Wars, and more. And also, if you think about it, Vader was only a villain in Part 2. He was a henchman in Part 1. Part 3, he became a pussy.
Yeah,
but
that's exactly.
The Emperor was evil all the way through.
That's exactly why, and he was much more of an imposing threat. And Vader was really a henchman. That's the thing. And when I speak about Star Wars, I only mention the original trilogies because everything else is
garbage.
And what they did to Vader in the prequels is a travesty by casting that Hayden
Christensen.
Christensen dude was just a terrible actor. And just those movies are an atrocity from top to bottom.
No.
It culminates. They made Vader into a cartoon character. It culminates with that last scene where he goes like, "No," and super over. Yeah, like a villain from the 70s or some shit. From a 70s cartoon. And yeah, that only helped diminish the character of Vader to me. And then I watched actually that one Star Wars movie that's sort of cool, which is
Rogue One,
the prequel, Rogue One.
Yeah.
And that last scene, they finally made Vader into something that looks like what people think Vader is supposed to
be. Yeah. Like the real tough SOB.
Yeah, now finally he looks like a threatening force instead of the geriatric guy that's fighting with the lightsaber like this.
Okay, you see, I don't want to veer off too much, but do you know that in all 9 films, there's only been one film where there's been a decent lightsaber fight? This is supposed to be the best warriors and samurai warriors, and these guys can't fight. These guys are garbage fighters. The lightsaber fights are crap.
They are. And by a decent lightsaber, do you mean the Phantom Menace with Darth Maul? That was pretty good.
That's the best one.
Yeah, that's the only one. That's the only good thing about the entire. You could like the entire prequels. There's one scene that's good, and that's it. That final scene with Darth Maul. But as a kid, because I was so hyped up about watching the Phantom Menace, I sort of latched onto that one scene to like fool myself into thinking, you know what, that was a pretty decent film.
Yeah, everyone did. Everyone did.
And I rewatched it. I'm like, oh shit, it's
no, it was good because I remember when me and my brothers we went to go and watch it, and literally the first thing that my brother said when he left the cinema was, "Man, that Darth Maul scene was really, really good," because he was just living in denial. Then after a few watches, he then came around and said, "Yeah, that film is a pile of crap."
Yeah, same thing with me.
Also, side note as well, Dark Knight Rises is an awful film.
But who's somebody saying it's not?
No. I'm just saying side note because I was just watching some clips of it earlier today, and it's a garbage film. And if you pause,
you just like saying that every once in a while, like
but
in life, it's good to say that every once. Hey, by the way, side note.
Always side note. Right, it's a crap film. Just be clear.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if you during Bane's speech, if you pause it for a split second, you can literally see like a fraction of the back of my head in the film.
No way. Oh well, then it's worth getting the 4K edition.
But for that, because do you know how annoying it is? Because do you know how long a day it was and how much we filmed? We filmed so much stuff, and all you see of me is a split second at the back of my head. I was like, where's all that footage? we feel so much, and it just shows you how much it gets left on.
What did they pay? Did they pay you anything, or
what is it?
Did they pay you anything? Was it a
Oh
pay?
no, yeah, no, because this is when I was this was during my acting career. So I was like, I was doing like all these what's it called, like where you're
Extras.
Background artists, so background artists, whatever they call it. So yeah, it was about 100 and
actually, we're called background artists, not extras.
Yeah. So I think it was like £150 for the day.
Oh, not bad, no.
So it was all right, and everything, So and I you see, now I regret doing this because the film was so crap. I remember after we got it done, I actually saw Nolan walking away, and then I was like, "Hey, Chris," and I was like, "Oh man, like love your film, I love what you did for Batman."
No autographs.
Sorry, no autographs, please.
We just stopped shooting. No autographs.
Yeah, and I was like, no, screw it, sign this bloody thing, man. But the thing is that I think they say it's unprofessional to ask for autographs if you're an extra and everything. So,
well, there's sets where the crew are paid. They have to sign a contract. Vowing not to look any of the actors, the main stars, in the eyes. They can't make eye contact with them.
I'll maybe tell you another. Maybe see as we go through it, I'll tell you more sort of like extra stories that I have because there were a few other films I was in. And I'll tell you a few more stories, but let's just move on.
Can I just do one thing, man? While you're riffing, I'm listening over here. I just need to get a drink of water. It's like
okay, go for it. Yeah. So, while your boy is out there, man, my number 8 is actually okay. Let me just answer this, man. So basically, it's when Bane is giving a speech about the people wanting to take over, and basically it's about the prison, and he's doing it in front of the prison, and the doors open and the prisoners come through. You're seeing like montages and everything. There is a scene where you see some people run up these steps as they're trying to take over this place. I am behind a guy with a cap. It is literally a fraction of a second. A fraction of a second that to see me, and that was it, man.
It's already better characters than the Nightwing that Nolan came up with.
Oh,
you remember?
Yeah, what was it? Wasn't that Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
30 Rock. What is it? That show? Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah,
what's it called? My brother went to.
Supposed to be Nightwing.
Yeah, like my brother went to uni with him.
Really? Interesting.
Like basically, he went to uni with him while he was filming Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, okay.
So, so basically, my number 8 is Spider-Man: Homecoming. You
mean Iron Boy?
Basically, pretty much Iron Boy, which is why he's number 8 and not number 1. Because look, I am a Spider-Man fan. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and and people will call me crazy. The Raimi films are trash. Sorry, that's just my view. From a Spider-Man fan, the Raimi films are trash. The Mark Webb films could have been good, but Mark Webb just botched it. Homecoming, I think, is the closest we've gotten to a genuinely true Spider-Man film in capturing the essence of Spider-Man. The issue, and Machine alluded to it, he's Iron Boy. He's Iron Man's side chick. He is the Griezmann. He is the Antoine Griezmann to Iron Man's flipping like Mbappe or Pogba. Like he's a sideshow artist. He's a sideshow artist, and it's really annoying because this is Spider-Man. Peter Parker is a genius. So, but despite that, I think Tom Holland is a really good Spider-Man. I think the chemistry he has with the characters are really good, and the vibe of it, sometimes it can be a bit childish, but the vibe of it and so forth, I think, is really good because I think they balance the cheesiness with a really good kind of comedy, and I think they definitely use The Breakfast Club and the John Hughes films as a great inspiration of trying to create the right tone. See what I say? The Raimi films for me just went way too cheesy. It was like, okay, this is just way too cringy, way too cheesy. So this sort of like takes a step back from really going all the way with the cheesiness there.
I totally agree. I totally agree with the Raimi films. I think they're, for a long time there were, I was screaming.
But why do people? Okay, can you ask me why do people love them so much?
No, but they, but now there's people like us actually saying they're sort of shit. But back in the day, it was like you'd get laughed out of rooms for saying, which I did. Man, these movies are actually terrible. They were like, "What are you saying? These are the best movies of all time. Spider-Man 2 was a masterpiece." And I actually rated Spider-Man 3 above any of them because at least it seemed to embrace its stupidity more so than the other ones. The other ones were sort of trying to straddle the line between serious and
at least just go all the way. Go all the way. If you want to
go stupid, just go all the way, man. And the third one, I felt did that, and the action set pieces were the best. The only like decent parts about those films are the action scenes, some of them, and I felt number 3 had the best ones. And also they have like the only case of overacting in a painting that I've ever seen with Willem Dafoe, where he's such a master overactor that even his painting behind him is overacting.
And but that's why I just say it's like directing, because you look at Willem Dafoe in Platoon, or you look at him in Nosferatu, or you look at him in this recent film with Robert Pattinson. Like, he can do that kind of proper kind of low-key acting. But Raimi is such a kind of, yeah, man, because look, he's the Evil Dead dude. So he was bringing that kind of aesthetic of Evil Dead into Spider-Man, and there's just something about it that's, it's just, for me, it's really just didn't click with me at all. Just everything about it. Even from seeing the trailer, even when I saw the trailer, I knew this was not Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. The terrible CGI in the first one. Even in the second one, there's some. It got better, but in the first one, it was just atrocious CGI. Also, there's the cult of Sam Raimi. He has a big cult behind him, and of Evil Dead in particular, where there's people who pretend that Evil Dead is the greatest movie ever made, and a very large swath of nerds seem to worship that movie. I actually like Army of Darkness the best out of that trilogy, because at least
I think I've only seen the first one.
Yeah, the first one is unwatchable practically. It's like a student film with, it's got some interesting camera.
I think I was impressed with the effects, the kinds of homemade effects. I think that was what, because, oh wow, these are really good effects for such a low budget. This is very creative in how he was thinking of stuff.
Right. I mean, with number 2, I thought it got more interesting because, and number 2 is sort of a remake of number 1. You don't really know if it's a sequel or a remake. It's sort of like in a gray area. But it got more interesting to me because Bruce Campbell, who's the guy that plays Ash, is the most interesting thing about those movies to me. And he gets to express himself a lot more than he did in the first one. In the first one, he was just a bit character. And in the second one, he comes into his own. And in the third one, for sure, he becomes a really cool action hero full of one-liners and memorable one-liners at that. But I digress. Spider-Man Homecoming is your choice. I wouldn't have it in my top 10. I disliked it, to be honest. But yeah, to each his own.
7.
Number 7. Okay, let me see what my number 7 is. It's Captain America: Civil War. Too low? Too low? Too high?
Too low.
Too low. Okay.
Now I'm very interested to see what 6 films do you have above Civil War?
Yeah, Civil War is good. It's got some really nice action set pieces. like that chase sequence in the tunnels. That's amazing. The showdown between the superheroes in the airport hangar. That's incredibly memorable. But apart from that, it's mired by a very weak villain in Baron Zemo, and a little bit of like a pretentious side to the script that tries to incorporate political intrigue in a way that doesn't really work, and I don't feel is suited to a comic book movie that's essentially about people with superpowers slapping each other. Uh, but yeah, it's a movie that's well executed, but it's not at my very. I mean, it's at number 7, so obviously I rated it highly, but it's not quite as good as the other ones that I've listed in my estimation. Also, I'm really bored by the whole Winter Soldier thing. I think that actor annoys me, and I don't understand why he played such a prominent role in these films. I don't think what is it about Bucky that of all the characters
It's his friend, man. He's his longtime amigo. It's the bond.
He was basically used as a plot device to get Iron Man and Cap to butt heads. But other than that, it's yeah. What are your favorite parts about the movie?
No, for me the ending. It has one of the best endings. Just that ending and how things come to fruition, and how it takes from Winter Soldier. And because basically for me, I still think the ending should have been when you see Captain America drop his shield. It should have faded to black, and boom, that'd have been a powerful ending.
Mm-hmm.
And just how they just went with these guys that they were so together as Avengers, broke up. I think that was just a really great way that they told that story. So that ending was good, and the face off between Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Iron Man I just thought was really powerful, because we're just not fighting. There was meaning and story behind them fighting, so there was weight there.
What did you think of? I mean, because I guess like on Captain America's side, he was protective over Barnes, right?
Mm.
And on Stark's side, he was protective over War Machine, that got almost fatally injured in that airport hangar showdown. But didn't you think that for me, like, that scene was like, I don't care about Don Cheadle, man. Once again, I was like, I so wish they had Terrence Howard as
Yeah, no, don't chill is garbage. No, like for me, like I wasn't really looking at it in terms of, oh my gosh, look at what happened to Don Cheadle. It was more so about he's just there as a plot vehicle. You're not really supposed to really care about him. You just need a catalyst to really give Iron Man that kind of extra edge to hate and go after Captain America. But just how they had the kind of hatred of one another of Cap and Iron Man to the two guys who built the MCU. I just thought that's core of the story. I just thought was what really drove it for them. Which is why I just think it's a class above the rest of the whole of the MCU, because no other MCU film really has that kind of deep thoughts, the kind of depth that this film had based on what Danny Jr. and Chris Evans' portrayals of the characters. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have to rewatch the movie again to see what my ultimate thoughts on it are. But from
you see, when guys say stuff like that, Don Cheadle is trash. Just, bro, I don't know who you look at, but Don Cheadle is trash. He's crap. He's crap as a War Machine. He's awful. He's awful.
As War Machine, I'm sure he's good in other.
Yeah, no. He's a good actor. He's just poorly miscast as a War Machine.
Yeah.
All right, man. So my number 7 is, I'm not sure whether you have it on your list, Avengers Endgame. This could have been better. This could have been better, but what I'll say about Endgame is this. This has to rank as the greatest cinema experience of my life. This was an absolutely amazing cinema experience. How people reacted to the certain scenes and so forth, and just being in that cinema and seeing those reactions to the big moments was amazing. It was actually amazing because it was opening night, and I think it was like a special, because it was a ticket that a colleague of mine gave to me. So everyone in the cinema pretty much were like huge fans. So it wasn't just like it was like actual fans. So the reactions were truly much more authentic than if it was just like general public. And basically, Avengers Endgame, it was very much for the fans. It was fan service, but it was fan service done right. You know, my only issue with Avengers Endgame is Falcon was given the shield. I almost screamed when that happened because I was like,
it's terrible.
No. But look, I mean, no. So Avengers Endgame, it's one of the best kind of wrap-ups to a thing that I've seen. The way they just wrapped everything up of pretty much was 22 films, I thought was great, which is why I should say it's Endgame. MCU is finished. And it was a great footnote and a great full stop on the whole 22 movie run.
Did you watch? Where did you watch it? Did you watch it in the States or?
Oh no, in the UK.
So even in the UK, it was popping. Like in the States, like people, audiences.
No, obviously, because the guy that gave me the tickets, he had tickets for New York because I think his sister lives in New York. So he was like, because I know that America would have been crazy.
Yeah.
And see this thing, say in England, you don't really get guys reacting that much because in England, guys are very conservative and so forth. So this was special because it was like, oh wow, you don't normally get this in most cinemas in the UK, but it's the kind of crowd that went to see this film because it was a crowd that were desperately looking to view this comic book film. So these are all hardcore comic book fans. So
yeah, that's when you know it's a true event movie. And there's, but you know, and I'm surprised that they did that in England because just like in Portugal, I'm assuming it's even more conservative because people hardly ever they never clap in the middle of a scene, no matter how much they like it, you know. And they've just recently started clapping a little bit at the end of a movie if they really read it, but that's about it, you know. And in the States, it's like people like they're like, no way that happened, bro! Can you believe it?
You know, one thing I want to hopefully do before I die is to watch like a really big film in the States.
Yeah.
That's something that I really, because like, people just don't, because I think in England people just don't have any reactions.
But you know what? Like in America, they're almost desperate to be pleased. They're very eager to. They're always ready to laugh and always ready to, you know,
say something.
They're much more easily enthused, much more. Yeah. Whatever, they're there to entertain, to be entertained, and they almost force themselves to be entertained sometimes.
Okay.
Game. All right, man.
So now there's not time for your number 6 now.
I think I'm breaking up this list a little bit now that I'm thinking of it. But my next, my number 6 is Avengers: Infinity War.
Oh wow. Okay.
And you're not. What are you? You're not impressed.
Not a fan.
You're not a fan. Infinity War's better than Endgame, and it has to be. You don't.
No. Endgame is better. Much better, man.
I'm surprised. Infinity War. Mention there's this one scene in Endgame that is the ultimate crowd pleaser, and that's the scene with Mjolnir and Captain America. lifting.
Bro, the reaction when that's the whole cinema literally erupted when that happened.
All right,
It's
I can imagine.
literally exploded when that happened, man.
But, I wish that had not been spoiled by a dumbass friend of mine who told me that. He was like pretending he wasn't giving it away, but I don't want to give it away. But let's just say Captain America is one worthy dude, and I'm like, I got that. I mean, he's worthy of what? Obviously, it's the lifting the hammer. Especially being a comic book a nerd myself, I knew immediately what the reference was. So I went into the theater knowing exactly what was going to happen at that stage, and it's a shame because it really is the high watermark of that movie. But at the same time, just moments afterwards or before, you get the scene with where it's like basically bitches unite. That scene where for no reason all of a sudden every woman shows up. Every woman in the MCU, like,
Oh my god, that was so awkward. But like even when it happened, I was like, okay, whatever. Because it's so stupid that I was like, you know what, whatever.
yeah,
Whatever.
dude, it's one of the most cringe-inducing scenes of all time, and so it's so political for no reason because it doesn't feel organic at all. It's just like totally all right. Here's girl power.
Okay, but can I ask? Because obviously I'm not getting destroyed in the comments by how I put Endgame over Infinity War. Can I just say this? Isn't the Infinity War ending pretty pointless? Because they're all going to come back, so it's had zero effect.
Oh, totally. Of course, yeah.
So because when people say, "Oh my gosh," it was so that look, like basically the bad guy wins and the good guy dies. No, because they all came back. Like the people that died in
But listen,
Endgame actually died.
but Endgame has so many like flaws as well. Like how Tony Stark invents a time machine, man. Really?
Yeah, but look, you see, those are things where look, things are so beyond. Even for Thanos, how the hell did they even last? Thanos had four rings. They shouldn't be able to even touch Thanos with four rings. These guys were giving Thanos a good go when he had 3-4 rings, which is stupid.
It is sort of stupid, and it's even stupider that Thor almost kills him with all rings, with every single ring. You remember when he throws the hammer at the very end, and it's like,
wait. Did he have 5 rings when he threw?
I think he did, and what he does is he turns back time or something because he had the time thing. And I thought you would think that would be the device that they would use, that time ring, not ring. We keep calling it jewel. What's the proper name of it? The gemstone. Yeah, the time gemstone, right? And you would think that that's what somehow that they would use, that the heroes in the next movie would get a hold of that to turn back time or something. I don't know. But getting Iron Man to actually invent a time machine, man, that's like the biggest cop out. It's really like a person, writers admitting, listen, we have no idea what to do, so like, let's just get Tony Stark to invent a time machine. And then Pepper Potts is like, oh wow, you really did it, a time machine. Wow. And she's like sipping on her Bellini or whatever. And then at the end, I thought the funeral scene, which could have been poignant and really dramatic, because it is Tony Stark, a character that you've accompanied for years and years at this stage. He's died, and there was nothing, man. There was just like no emotion, and in those scenes, even from the daughter, I thought that was hilarious. Where they try, like the daughter's totally like, yeah, oh, okay, whatever, he's dead. Stark's daughter. Would you like to get some burgers? You don't like burgers? Your dad liked burgers.
Oh.
Right. Oh yeah, did he? Okay, cool. Whatever.
No. Okay, but see. Okay, let's talk about Thanos. The trailer I saw in Infinity War wasn't in the film. Do you know my biggest issue with Infinity War? Thanos can't shut the Forge up. This dude talks and talks and talks and talks. And my thing about this, and I'm sure you can guess as a writer, is if you really want to put across the fearsomeness of a villain, less is more. Less is more. And I just think that Thanos, basically, they tried to make us somewhat sympathize with Thanos and try to make him like, see, villains are not supposed to be three-dimensional characters. They're supposed to be forces of nature. It's like what made Joker so good in Dark Knight wasn't like the whole his why so serious speeches, because he would pop up, be crazy for like 2 minutes, go mad, and you wouldn't see him for like another 15, 20 minutes. And that was it, because less is more. And I just thought that I felt Thanos was going to be like, this whole thing of, oh, you want to balance the world. It's like, what? So you want to kill half the world because that will balance it out? That's nonsensical.
Yeah, but how? But hold on. How is that relatable, though? I don't get it. Why people keep saying that Thanos is such a layered, multi-dimensional character. It's like he's either right or he isn't. He's either right that like the universe will destroy itself because it's overpopulated, which is stupid. I mean, assuming he's right, then he's right. Then they should let him do it. And if he's not right, then they fought against something that's that will ultimately doom the universe even more so than Thanos would have. You know.
So
the heroes turn out to be the villains. The heroes by preventing him from doing. The reason why Thanos was killing half the universe's population is because the way that the universe was going, it was gonna be Armageddon basically. So he was trying to prevent that from happening. And if the heroes stopped him from doing so, then theoretically they're responsible for the end of the universe. And that's like a sort of contradiction that was never addressed. You know?
Yeah. I mean, look. I mean, the film was, because I tried to watch it again. It just never really did it for me. And I think that whole storyline of I want to balance the world and create balance, basically, it would have made sense if I just want to rule the world, man.
Yeah.
Those who don't are against me, I'll screw you. I just want power because I'm a megalomaniac. Rather than, does he have a point of no. He's just a freaking villain. He's just evil. Like Sauron just wanted power. Yoshan says, why do you always film in your closet?
I love my closet, man. There's something about it. I feel it's very cinematic, No, because it's my computer is stuck here, and this is a house we moved in fairly recently, and we don't have space for all our stuff basically because it's a long story. But this is a basement, and there's a bunch of clothes here.
I think that's okay. So let me ask you this: should you always understand the motivation of a villain? Should you always try to understand their point of view?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think some of the most intriguing villains and the most captivating villains are the ones where you really don't know what the hell is going on.
It's the mystery that brings the most fear. That's what brings the most fear, the unknown.
It's like, and really, you really can't. True evil, you really can't understand. That's what makes
it scary.
That's what makes it scary. You can't hope to understand what goes on in the mind of a serial killer, for instance. You can go through, he was abused as a child, but or some of that. A lot of the serial killers have that, and many others don't, past traumas like that. But when you get to a certain degree of evil, like, say, a John Wayne Gacy level of evil, then there's nothing to understand. It's an incomprehensible degree of evil. And I'm not saying that all villains should be like that, total unabashed sociopaths without any redeeming qualities. But I think a lot of the most effective ones are Buffalo Bill is a really good one.
Hmm.
I thought Buffalo Bill was more interesting than Anthony Hopkins is.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, no,
listen,
no. For me, Anthony Hopkins was more interesting. Buffalo Bill was scarier.
Yeah, he was a better character, but Buffalo Bill was a much more compelling.
Oh yeah, no.
Like,
I was much more afraid of Buffalo Bill
of course,
than Hannibal Lecter because I was like, what? Because I was like, what is going through this guy's mind? And you never knew his motivations and why he did the things that he did, which is what made him so good. I think is it Bill Nunn or something? I don't remember his name.
he's great in it. He's great at I'd fuck me. Oh, was she a great big fat person? No, he's amazing in it, and yes, absolutely. But if you were to see popular press about it, and when they list the scariest movie villains of all time, they always have Hannibal Lecter in the lists. They never feature Buffalo Bill, just like they always have Darth Vader, and they never feature the Emperor.
Okay. So my number 6, and this is one that's pretty contentious. And I think people sort of have very interesting views upon this. My number 6 is Black Panther. I think apart from the CGI and so forth, what I always say about Black Panther is it is the best acted MCU film by far. And in terms of an acting ensemble, it is the best acted. And for me, it is the best film in terms of filmmaking qualities of acting, storytelling, and everything. I think it is the best kind of film. I think what lets Black Panther down, why it's not higher, is I think the Black Panther character is garbage. From the comics, I think he's a garbage character. And I don't think that Ryan Coogler and people, I think it's going to be an opportunity to really elevate the character and make the character very more interesting than his roots, which is what Richard Donner did with Superman and with Christopher Reeve. They could have really elevated him more, but Killmonger ended up being much more interesting than the main character. And the CGI was, maybe they didn't have enough money for the CGI, and all the money was for Infinity War, but yeah, the CGI was really lacking. And I think that he could have maybe just done away with the CG stuff. But apart from that, it was a good story, very well told, and really great acting, which is why they won the SAG Award for acting ensemble. So yeah, man, this is why Black Panther is my number 6.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. I didn't like the film. I thought it was dog average, but and in terms of acting, I thought the best actress by far was the one that played the role of Black Panther's sister.
Oh, yeah. I've forgotten her name. Yeah,
I thought she was the best, and I know that there's one actor that you mentioned that you think is like top of the pops, but he played like a really not very flattering role.
Oh, Daniel Kaluuya.
Daniel Kaluuya, who was basically like he turned against the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
And then, but then, and he's leading a horde of CGI rhinos, and then
it's just for the kids, man. It's for the kids. You always need one of those scenes, man.
Basically, Grace Jones's reject clone comes up to who's married to him, comes up to him and, what are you doing? And like bitch slaps him, and he gets pussy whipped, and he goes, okay, I'm sorry, it's I shouldn't have done this, and all is forgiven. That's one of the worst scenes in the entire MCU for me.
Yeah, no, it didn't really bother me. It was what it was. It was what it was. It didn't really bother or put me through. But for me, I just still think it's still a really well made. Like, it's not one of my personal favorites, but step back, it's still a very well made film. I think Ryan Coogler did a really good job in just putting that whole thing together. And I think when you read the comic, the character is garbage. It's a garbage, and I think the character was made to try to bring in African Americans to get in touch with their African nature.
There's still so much potential there to be drawn from the concept of just Wakanda in general, and
No,
you
no,
know,
I think, basically, so much you could have done so much to elevate the material because the material is so thin, but there is enough there to really expand upon pretty much what Tim Burton did with Batman. Like he just took the material and just really enriched it, which sort of led people to same thing with Richard Donner and the same thing with Blade. Who the hell cared about Blade before the movie? But came in and they Snipes and the directors just really added so much more and really built upon the stuff. So they didn't do enough to be like, we're gonna now take it in this kind of creative area now. So
what was your favorite Black Panther scene?
there are a few. I liked the scene when he met his father for the last time in the spectral world and the kind of conversation that they had and how he sort of like put him to task with regards to how he had left, the kind of legacy that he had left and what he had done to the whole Killmonger thing. I liked the fight where Killmonger defeats Black Panther and sort of just like throws him over the edge. I also liked the scene with when Killmonger meets his father and has that kind of one-to-one with his father and just sort of so he now really gets more into Killmonger's psyche and why he's so angry. So basically, what this had that other MC films had, it had real scenes and real kind of acting scenes. And in other MC films, like there are no kind of okay, we're now really let's bring it down to some real kind of level. So because this is also about father-son relationships, racial dynamics, societal dynamics of being a leader of a kingdom, chip on your shoulder, dealing with your past. So there was a lot of real stuff that guys could really grab onto, which you don't really get in the other MCU films, which is why this just seemed much more realer than the other ones. So
but you're not one of the ones that thinks that Killmonger is I always keep thinking Killjoy for some reason. But the Killmonger is like the best. I mean, they say that he's the best villain in the MCU. For me, he's like some guy with a skin condition.
No, I think he's like an antagonist, man.
Well, he's like a mirror image of the hero, but it's like the evil version of. He's the shadow version of the villain.
I think Shuri. That's who you're thinking of, Shuri.
That's who I thought did a great job. And she just seemed the most charismatic. Well, her and the villain to some degree. I don't like the actor that plays Black Panther. For some reason, that accent doesn't feel real to me. I don't know if it is or not.
You know what it is? It's like because I watched another film of his, 21 Bridges. They had Chadwick Boseman, and I've seen some other films that he's done because I think he played this famous baseball player, and he played James Brown. I think you can tell where he's trying really hard to do the accent, and I think because I've acted before, I can tell when someone is concentrating on maintaining the authenticity of the accent and not effortlessly doing it and being in the scene. So it seems as if he was too aware of, okay, do I have the dialect right? Do I have the words right? Is everything right? Rather than you should be so confident in the accent that now you're actually present in the scene. So I think his presence in the scene was sort of sacrificed for him trying so hard to ensure that the accent was good so that he could sort of like not let down the African community and so forth by his accent sort of being off. Which is why I think that it may have been wiser if they went with like a Daniel Kaluuya who has Ugandan kind of ancestry, because it would have been more effortless in him getting the accent, and he's just a better actor than Chadwick Boseman. So
okay,
man. So this is now your number 5.
And my number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which you hated.
Oh my God, what? Machine, what the hell?
I don't know why you hated it, because for
What
me,
the hell? This film was trash.
everything that was good about the first one is better in this one, I feel, except for the humor. There's more scenes. There's more scenes of supposed comedy that fall completely flat. But it does have one thing that's unique to it, and the entirety of the
Kurt
MCU.
Russell?
Well, first of all, it has Kurt Russell, which is amazing. The other thing that it has is a cinematography that finally embraces a visual aesthetic that's different and actually captivating, which is a complete anomaly in the MCU universe, where everything's shot in the same humdrum sort of way. And Guardians has a really cool, just a aesthetic presentation. But obviously, that's not why I like it. I like it actually because I think that the Kurt Russell character and the villain of Guardians is probably the best in the entire MCU, and I thought that the twist at the end, where he's the one who gave his Star-Lord's mother brain cancer. I mean, that's a really cool twist, and very twisted, actually. And I love the idea of Ego, the living planet, as portrayed by Kurt Russell, who's doing like the most egomaniacal interpretation of all time, but in a really tongue-in-cheek, really funny sort of way, that I felt was really compelling.
Oh, okay. So you didn't find this convoluted and just all over the place, especially towards the end?
With what exactly? What part?
No, I think just the story, like towards the end, it just seemed as if
I love that they were living in this planet that was like a planet that just fit all of their fantasies, basically, and was designed to cater to all their fantasies. But then there was a dark side. I mean, we've seen this trope many times before in many other movies and books and what have you. But the way that they did it there, I just really liked the visuals. I liked it felt like an escapist fantasy that was fun for me to be engrossed in for 2 hours plus. That's not something that Marvel has offered me since ever, probably. Yeah, they did in parts of seeing Asgard and everything, but Guardians 2 did that much more. So, and what else did I find was really cool about it? I mean, that's about it. I think Kurt Russell really steals the show and is worth watching the movie for that alone. Yeah.
man, you're on crack, bro. No, seriously, you're on crack. I mean, that's just.
So what made it so appreciably worse than the first one?
See, like you, I have forgotten most of the film, but I remember when I watched it in the cinema because I was hyped because I loved the first film.
Yeah.
And I remember going into the cinema and I was hyped because I loved the first film. I was hyped because I'm one of Kurt Russell's biggest fans. I love Kurt Russell. So because Kurt Russell, first film was so good, I was like, boom. It just felt like a mess. It just really felt like a mess. It just felt like it was just all over the place, man. It just didn't really feel like it was.
Oh, you know why I really liked it? It also, like, I watched Infinity War prior to watching Guardians 2, and a lot of the stuff that was part of Infinity War all of a sudden made sense. It clicked with me upon watching Guardians 2 because they introduce a lot of concepts in it that travel over to Infinity War, namely Nebula and that weird alien that can feel everything with the antennas, the Asian alien with the antennas. Remember?
Oh yeah. Wait, all that. I found her a bit annoying though. After a while.
Mantis is her name. I'm looking
Mm.
at this. But these are all, kooky, zany concepts that I find at least, entertaining as I'm watching, and yeah, Taserface got old a little bit. I liked Yondu a lot. Yondu?
Yonder was really good because
Yondu, right,
because
the way
I think he was in JFK. Really, I like that. I love that actor, man.
all right, so first of all, that guy's a really good actor. And then the idea that this guy was really the father figure for Star-Lord, right?
Mm.
I mean, that arc, the way that they did it was really cool because Star-Lord was desperate to find a father figure. Then he finds his real father, Ego the Living Planet, and he's like the worst thing on that he could imagine. The whole time he had his father figure right next to him, and he never even considered him, except for at the very end. So I thought that was a really ingenious way, the way that played out, and the way that they executed that, and that final scene where he goes with the thing, the arrow that he controls,
Oh, yeah.
and like wrecks shit, but then sacrifices himself in the process. I thought was powerful. We're speaking about. I have to remind myself of why I like these movies. Now I'm actually rereading the synopsis, and I'm finally understanding why. Yeah, those scenes. That was a really powerful scene that I liked.
I mean, you know what? Maybe I need to watch it again. Because as you're saying this stuff now, maybe now that you've said this stuff, maybe I should now watch it with new eyes. But because I was so hyped for the film, whenever you're hyped for a film, you want it to go a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And when it doesn't go that certain way, you're like, okay, it's crap. But you're just ignoring what you're given. So you're not really rating it on what you're giving. You're just rating it on, oh, you didn't give me what I wanted. So therefore, so maybe if I watch it again, I'm like, okay, let me just, now I know what I'm to expect. Let me now judge it. But that's what they're saying for Dark Knight Rises. Even if I know what is coming in Rises, it is still hot flipping garbage.
Yeah, we should say that at least like twice every stream. Just
No, I will. I want you to also remind me whenever I say it. So my number 5, similar, Guardians of the Galaxy, which is better than Part 2, by the way. So let's just keep it real. Oops, Guardians of the Galaxy, just because you have to remember that no one was checking for Guardians of the Galaxy before this film came out. So the fact that it's made such an impact without having the kind of baggage of like a Spider-Man, a Batman, or so forth is equally impressive. And you say like most of the comedy were misses, most of the comedy were hits for me. Like it was really funny, great chemistry, great characters, and they pretty much created something from the ground up because there was no inbuilt audience of Guardians of the Galaxy. Everything else, like Iron Man thing, had an inbuilt audience. Nobody had an inbuilt audience of this, So, for in that instance, got to give it up. For this villain could have been better. If the villain was better and more pronounced, this gets a lot higher. But I was pissed off that you get Vin Diesel, you get Riddick to say 3 words. Come on, bro.
What is it? What did Vin Diesel do?
Groot. I am Groot.
No way. That's Vin Diesel? That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
You didn't know?
I didn't know that. And by the way, it's also crazy that they got the other guy to play the raccoon.
That's Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, for me, it's one of the stupidest things in the industry that keeps being perpetuated is this notion that you need to attach a big name actor to a cartoon character.
You see,
It's the equivalent of me ripping up a $10 million check or whatever, 15 million or however much these people get paid for it.
No, because let me keep it real with you. When I saw that, I was like, this is stupid. This is stupid because this guy has no voice acting experience. Now, when I saw the film, I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty impressed.
No, he does. I'm not saying he doesn't do a good job, but listen,
as impressed as I was, it will never be as good as if you got like DiMaggio, the guy that does the voice in Gears of War. If you got a professional voice actor, you would get a much better job. But it's Bradley Cooper, and he's famous, and women love him. So that just brings in, because he has an inbuilt audience.
Excuse me, do you think the women, you're going to bring in the women loving aspect of the movie going audience to look at a raccoon? They don't give a shit. I mean, they're looking at the raccoon literally, and it's like with kids. This all started, by the way, with Pixar when they cast Tom Hanks and Tim Allen and other big name actors for Toy Story. Prior to that, it was just some no names. Every once in a while, you'd get like Robin Williams to play the genie and everything.
Oh yeah, Aladdin, yeah.
Yeah, but look at Aladdin. There's Robin Williams, who didn't want to do the thing, by the way. And then there's a bunch of no-name people. Do you know who played Aladdin? No. Do you know who played
Jasmine Jafar?
Jasmine Jafar? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, and it's not, and nobody cares because it's Aladdin.
Because I think, look, okay, if you're gonna get a big name, okay, get Denzel or Tom Cruise, Bradley Cooper. You see that big a movie star where you need to cast him. Well, oh my gosh, Bradley Cooper is in the film. Let's go and rush and watch it. I'm like, no. It is really stupid why they did that, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's burning money basically. You could spend less than a quarter of way less than a quarter of. I mean, you could just spend like 2% of what you paid to Bradley Cooper to get a proper voice actor to do the same work, and probably do as good or a better job than he did.
All right, so we're moving on. So, give me your number 4, numero 4.
Number 4, number 4 is a movie that I know you dislike, which is Thor Ragnarok. Dude, I know. I bet you a lot of people in chat are going to agree that it's a good shout, because it's generally a well received film, and for good reason. For good reason, because it's got it's one of those other rare films that adopts a unique aesthetic in the MCU universe. In this case, it's got like sort of like a vaporwave, retro wave vibe to it that's interesting. It's the humor actually lands for me all the time in that movie. The dynamic between Thor and Hulk especially is really funny. And then you have that arena fight, which is fantastic, man. It's one of the great fights, probably the greatest fight in the MCU universe. And nothing, man. It's got good laughs, good story. It's sort of like Hulk, Planet Hulk, the series, the comic book series. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's basically a spin-off of Planet Hulk. What you probably don't like about the film is the way that they made Thor sort of a comedic character. But that was always sort of in the works, you know. It was always sort of alluded to, especially since Avengers. In the first 2 Thor movies, they played it. Hemsworth played it straight, but then they started introducing a more humorous element to him that culminated with this. So I didn't think it was quite as jarring as people as the movie's detractors said it was. I thought it worked. The one thing that I will say that I didn't like was this major inconsistency or plot hole that I detected, which is in the beginning. There's this fiery mega creature called Surtur, right? Who's the guy that's supposed to be the harbinger of Ragnarok, and Thor dispatches him very easily in the first 5 minutes of the movie, right? And then he gets his ass.
No. Wait, machine. Don't ask me. Ask yourself. I'm the wrong man to ask about this film.
I'm telling you what this thing that really bugs me about the movie is. And then Hela, who's the mistress of death or the goddess of death or what have you, she shows up and she's clearly a world-ending threat and just completely owns Thor. Basically shatters Mjolnir to pieces with I don't know. I don't even know how she does it, but I don't recall. But she just completely humiliates him and hands him his ass. And then at the very end, the way that Thor gets to defeat Hela is by doing what? By resurrecting Surtur to come back. The guy that he managed to dispatch as if he was barely a nuisance, all of a sudden is the one thing that can destroy Hela, who was way beyond Thor's power level. I mean, it just makes zero sense. It's a major inconsistency. But apart from that, I thought it was a very entertaining film, and who does a really good job as well, who's a scene stealer, is Jeff Goldblum as well. I really enjoyed watching him in there. You seem very annoyed. I'm happy for you to tell me something, man. Where I'm wrong. Walsh is with me. Walsh understands.
Machine. Roberto Muerto.
I like what Salah is saying. Machine, drink some wine. Maybe he'll change your mind.
No. Basically, I want to know exactly what is in that wine, because I think that wine may have messed with your psyche.
It has properties that make me sane. You know what it is? I drink the wine and all of a sudden everything becomes more lucid. Maybe I need to get back on that. No, but seriously, man, I will double down and triple down on this. It's one of the most enjoyable movies of the MCU. I think the vast majority of MCU movies are very humdrum and very generic. That's the main criticism that I can direct at them. And there are a few movies that stand out for not being generic, and Thor Ragnarok is one of them. Guardians Volume 2 is another one, but also the first Guardians is much the same. And apart from that, it's all sort of like, oh, okay, it's what you'd expect a superhero adaptation to be, not taking any risks, not just doing things by the numbers, And these few movies that I just mentioned actually do take risks and try new things. And when you're watching an MCU film, it's always a positive surprise to come across that. Thor prick the rock. So, good stuff. Yeah.
No, like I've got very little to say, just that this was a slap in the face and an insult to every hardcore Thor fan. And you see, this is what made me begin to sort of hate Taika Waititi. But then I saw What We Do in the Shadows, which is actually a pretty good film. But when I saw this, I was like, this dude really made Thor a clown. And he made a film that was a total comedy fest. So the best thing about this film was Korg. No, Korg was funny. Korg was really funny. Korg and Jeff Goldblum were the best. So, in fact,
Kong was the rock creature, right?
yeah, voiced by Taika Waititi.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, he was super funny.
and
Yeah,
look,
you know, you
also
know,
look, it's Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum. So
yeah, he's being Jeff Goldblum, but it's an interesting character and all that. And I also like the Valkyrie chick. I think I dig her presence, and she's got like a fiery sort of.
her accent was very dodgy, though. Very dodgy accent.
What is it supposed to be? Like
English.
pseudo British,
Yeah,
and she's not British.
it's a pretty bad British attempt at a British accent. You know.
But, and she's American.
Yeah, he's American.
Okay.
So
Okay.
okay. My number 4
Did you?
is one.
But you still. But why do you hate the movie so much? Is what they did to the story, basically.
You see, it's difficult because if I forget Thor, let's just say I watched the film and I knew nothing about Thor. I just watched it. I would be like, okay. You see, I personally don't find the film funny. I appreciate the approach and the filmmaking, but it's a comedy that I don't find funny. And if I don't find it funny, it's hard for me to like it or appreciate it because it's a comedy. Let's just be real, it's a comedy. You see, Ant-Man is a comedy that I find funny, you know, but Ragnarok is a comedy that I don't find funny. So his sense of humor didn't make me laugh out loud. So I was like, all right, I don't find this funny. This is totally left field from what Thor is supposed to be. So I'm like, okay, of what use is this film to me personally? And I think it is sad that Chris Hemsworth, you're such a clown that because you couldn't energize and create something interesting for a Thor character in 2 films, you decided to wimp out and hide behind the comedy genre. Because Ragnarok's quality isn't because of Chris Hemsworth. Its quality is because of Jeff Goldblum, Taika Waititi, and the world that he created. So,
Okay, but tell me something. Would you rather watch Thor Ragnarok or Thor and Thor 2?
I would rather watch Thor 1 than Thor Ragnarok.
Because Thor 1, that interpretation of Thor is pretty humdrum and pretty stale.
But you still have Odin. And
well, yeah, Odin in this as well.
Yeah, but Odin was more Odin in that. Patrick movie. Okay, the movie was decent. Chris was the dude is trash. Chris Hemsworth is trash. He's trash. You know, let's just keep it real. He's trash. And I know Machine can't say much because he's working with Spielberg and people, but I can. It is trash. Chris Hemsworth is trash.
I don't agree that Chris Hemsworth is trash. I think he's there's something to. I mean, but dude, sometimes there's certain actors that just rub you the wrong way, you know, and there's nothing that they can do to that other people can do to convince you otherwise. You know, maybe Hemsworth is one of those dudes to you, but yeah, I find him, you know, like I liked him a lot. For instance, in that Formula One movie where he played James Hunt.
Oh yeah,
opposite the Niki Lauda guy, Rush. I thought he was really good in that, and I think when you give him some more wiggle room to loosen up and to be sort of to do some ad libs and everything, he can be pretty good. And he was decent in this. I mean, you can't. There's 2 ways you can approach Thor, which is the Shakespearean way that's very pompous and overly dramatic. And the problem with that is that it's incompatible with an ensemble context that is required of the Avengers. For instance, you can't have Steve Rogers like talking like a normal human being, and then all of a sudden you have like this guy going, thou hast known to whatever mighty Asgard, oh puny mortal, and all that. You can't have that, man. So you're either left with a very like a middle of the road sort of interpretation, which is what you got in Thor 1 and Thor 2, which is just cookie cutter and very unappealing, or you approach it from a different manner, which is the comedic take, the sort of tongue-in-cheek take that sort of addresses that more holier than thou Shakespearean, overly dramatic thing, but makes fun of it,
No. It's. But I still think that even if you're going the comedic route, there is a better way that you can do it. And because Chris Hemsworth is not that good an actor, he hasn't sold the comedic route, nor has he sold the dramatic route. And I think people overrate how good Chris Hemsworth is at comedy. Now, he's passable. If he wants great comedic timing, that's Paul Rudd. That's Downey Jr. Those are guys who they understand comedic timing. Chris Hemsworth isn't that smart. So no. Okay. So I think is this number 4 or number 3?
Number 3, I think. This was number 3.
Yeah, number 333, yeah. Captain America Civil War. Is this 3 or 4?
That was my 3. I think this is your third now.
Okay, yeah, 3. So Civil War. As again, we've already talked about this. I just thought this was a heavy film. I still think that the airport scene, it's a bit comedic. It was very well handled. Still the best film to feature Spider-Man, this film. We got, hey everyone, the way Spider-Man was presented was like, yes, this is the Spider-Man I love. Cracking jokes, light-hearted, out of his depth, coming with a whole, I just want my Spider-Man just to make quips. I want him to make quips. Like, Spider-Man is that kind of Marty McFly, kind of light-hearted, quick-witted dude, and we had it in this. But yeah,
and out of his element a lot of times, like
that's what it's supposed to be. And I still think that the ending for this was really good. So the reason why this isn't higher, because I had this higher, but the reason why I don't have this higher is it still has some elements. Because see, I still say it's still a Captain America film because it's still a Captain America story. But I do get people that says, oh, it's going to very easily pass as an Avengers film. Which is why I think that they could have gone a different route in making a really good third Captain America film, dealing more so with the Captain America story. And there are just some bits that maybe are a bit too light-hearted for a Captain America film based on the previous 2 films that we had. So it was too much of a tonal shift. But then it course corrected itself in the last 50 minutes, which I think is the best. It is easily the best ending to any MCU film, is the ending for this film. Like, it was a really, really strong ending. And yeah, just in terms of the story, characters, the Russo brothers really took things to the next level.
Sorry,
in this.
Sorry to interrupt, HH, but everybody in the chat saying that I skipped over my 4. I'm going to go over every single one that I said, just so we're in the same wavelength. Avengers, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Guardians Volume 2, Captain America Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok.
So that's 8.
Yeah.
So I haven't. Oh, my number 4. So I haven't said my number 4.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. See, I knew this, man. I knew this. So sorry, sweetie. My number 4 is Avengers. So my number 4 is Avengers. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. So yeah, 4 is Avengers. So yeah, look, it's pretty much what's been said. Like the reason why I have to do this as number 4 is its impact was too huge, which is why I think that you're smoking crack putting it at number 10, because when this film came out, it's huge. And you know why this film is so good? It is to do with the talk we're going to have with that clown Snyder afterwards. Avengers literally had the DCEU pissing on themselves, because from 2012 to now, DC are still trying to make their own Avengers because it was such a resounding success. Because you have to understand, there was so much pressure on the Avengers. This is what this whole product was about. Yes, it was a single film and everything, but them connecting the universe. If Avengers failed, it's over. This whole project it's failed. So Joss Whedon had so much pressure to deliver Avengers. Hence why he was brought in to fix that pile of crap Justice League that Snyder did. So I think for Avengers, for what it did
to fix or to do whatever. I mean, if you call that atrocity fixed anything.
Machine, easy. Machine, we'll get there. Relax. We've got time. Look, man. Well, look, we may be old, but we have that stamina. We still have that stamina and everything, man. Okay, in and out of bed. So, Avengers is my number 4. That's how I'm going to stick by. So that's my number 4. So obviously, you've seen my number 3. So is that time for your number 3?
Well, I just said my number 3 was Thor Ragnarok.
So what's your number 4?
Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
So you missed your number 4.
Ah, that's right.
Oh my God. You missed your number 4. What the fuck?
Oh man.
Oh. Okay,
all right. So this has been a little bit of
okay, so your 4 is Winter Soldier.
My 4 is Winter Soldier. Yeah. My 4 is Winter Soldier because I distinctly remember thinking it was better than Civil War. I distinctly remember thinking that it was. Well, I don't want to give it away by saying that it's just it's probably the best of the. I don't know what to say about it, man. I barely remember it actually, man, to be honest with you. But it was more enjoyable than Civil War, and I placed Civil War where I did. I knew I had to place it in one of the high numbers. It has that kick-ass fight with Bardock at the beginning that I loved. It's got your boy, what's his face? He's getting old, man, but he used to be a good-looking guy.
Hugo Weaving?
No, man.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. And are we talking about the same movie, man?
No, sorry. Robert Redford.
Robert Redford, exactly. Yeah. Who? It was actually, there was a friend of mine that didn't get a chance to see the movie. And he knew that Robert Redford was in it, and I went to watch it, and then I told him about the movie, but I made up all these lies, and one of them was that Redford was actually playing MODOK. You know who MODOK is? He's basically like this giant head, this giant floating head and stuff. And I just thought the idea of a giant floating Robert Redford head was genius, and that he should have played that because he really plays no one. In that movie, it's not. He's the villain, but he's not really a villain that we know of, or he's not a typical Marvel Universe villain. He's not a Baron Zemo. He's not a Doctor Doom. He's not any of these guys. He's just some dude. with the plot. And it was. I remember what it was, man. It was. I felt it was the best directed of the MCU movies, and that's what really put the.
But Thor Ragnarok is better than this, according to you.
It's better because it's got more of a. It pushes the envelope more. It's just it pushes the envelope. It has an identity. It has more of an identity. This is as well directed as you can direct a movie within the MCU constraints, within the sort of generic superhero adaptation constraints, where you don't let any unique individual print seep into proceedings. Yeah, what is it saying? Machine is Thor Ragnarok, also known as Thor 3, over Winter Soldier, also known as Cap 2. Let that set in. So does this mean Machine thinks Thor 1 and 3 are better than Captain 2 and 3? No, I think Thor 1 is worse. And I think that Ragnarok is better than Winter Soldier. But not appreciably so, because I picked one as number 3 and the other one as number 4, so it's like neck and neck basically. But I would rather watch Thor Ragnarok. If you ask me now, all right, let's go watch one of these movies, Winter Soldier or Thor Ragnarok, I would definitely say Ragnarok, because I know that it would just be a switch your brain off sort of fun ride that I would enjoy thoroughly and not mind watching again. And I'm sure that Winter Soldier would be in parts sort of a slog, you know what I mean? Because it's also a bit self-important in parts. And again, it tries to incorporate like political intrigue as if it's like, it's like some kind of like...
Well, actually, since you're on this, we can probably just extend the chat, because my number 2 is Winter Soldier.
Okay. Oh, good.
So, and for me, I just think, look, man, it's raised the stakes in the MCU, and you are smoking crack cocaine if you're going to put Thor Ragnarok out of Winter Soldier. Because I don't care whether it has a personality. Winter Soldier is forever. It's a better film, and it's raised the stakes far more than Ragnarok. They just made it a comedy. Winter Soldier still took the vibe of what happened in the first Avenger and then really just elevated it and took it to a whole new, interesting, action-oriented direction. Ragnarok just said, screw whatever happened in those 2 films. We'll just make a flipping comedy and just have a laugh. But Winter Soldier is an actual film, hard-hitting, superb action scenes, great villain. And it's what Winter Soldier did the best is it expands the character. Did Thor as a character expand? Did he grow as a character in Ragnarok? No, he didn't. Captain America grew exponentially as a character.
Right. Look, he didn't grow as a character, but he became a character, which he wasn't prior to that. Prior to that, he was just the god of thunder. There was no character to speak of, really, at all. And in this one, at least, they try to introduce some kind of him having a crisis and crisis of was this in Ragnarok? I'm all confused now. Where he's ready to call it quits and everything, and right?
Bro, I don't remember Ragnarok, bro. Personally.
Where he gets like the big belly and everything, and his mother dies, and he gets depressed. Basically,
I think that's part 2. I think that's part 2.
Part 2 of what? It's still Ragnarok, right?
No, Ragnarok is part 3.
No,
His
it's
mom
not.
dies in part 2, I think.
Part 2 is nothing. Part 2 is a disaster. It's like they go off into they fight elves, dark elves or whatever.
Mm.
Absolutely nothing memorable about Thor 2. And that's up there with one of the very worst. I rank Thor 2 with Ant-Man and Iron Man 3. But no, this is it. Thor Ragnarok. Will chat help me or not? That's when he gets the crisis of he enters this dark night of the soul, basically. So yeah, like he becomes a character in Thor Ragnarok.
All right.
And
So what's your number 2? Brick Sheen.
Brick Sheen. My number 2, let me check, man. Number 2 is Iron Man, the original Iron Man. Down, 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 down. One of it's by the numbers. There's nothing revolutionary about it or anything, but it's a very solid origin story. At a time when people weren't completely drenched in superhero movies. So it still had some degree of novelty factor going for it. It's well structured. It's the first time you're really being exposed to the Robert Downey Jr. show. And he's paired up with Terrence Howard, who I think is about 600,000 times of a better foil or of a better actor to share.
I'd say about 850,000 personally.
Yeah, than Don Cheadle. And there's just a lot of really, really cool things to it. I think you mentioned it. The Iron Man armor design is spectacular. It's one of those movies I think it's 10 years old by now, or maybe even older.
It's 2008.
It's 12 years old, and the CGI has not aged one single bit. It's I don't know if that speaks ill of the progression of CGI, and if we sort of, in my opinion, I think we peaked with Starship Troopers in terms of CGI. We didn't appreciably develop past that. But yeah, but when it's good, it really doesn't age much, and it was really good in Iron Man, because they also did a clever thing, which was to mix practical special effects with CGI, and I think it's well paced. I like Jeff Bridges, as I know that you love Jeff Bridges as well. Doesn't mean that I like the villain, but I do like the fact that. Because I don't think it's a well-conceived villain. The character itself, Obadiah Stane,
it's quite thin, but
Obadiah Stane is not a particular.
It was great for what he did, but he could have been so much more.
It could have been more. The one thing that I have against it is the climax. I think at the very end it gets a little silly with a giant Iron Man.
The final fight was trash.
The final
was trash.
Was very weak sauce. But apart from that, I like Happy. I even like Gwyneth Paltrow. I think she's pretty good in that movie. She annoys me in subsequent installments, but in that one she was all right. And then what else is there? I just think I think it's the whole thing of him being imprisoned in Afghanistan and
redeeming himself, refining himself,
being a super full of himself. He's always a full of himself sort of guy, a very egotistical guy, but sort of finding his some degree of humility and having to dig in and confront his sort of demons, and then through his craftiness and genius and whim and genius, managing to get out of that situation by building what is a really cool homage. It's not an homage; it's a reference to the first edition of Iron Man. Because if you know the Iron Man comic books, the 1962 or what have you, Iron Man that Stan Lee came up with. That's the original design, that really bulky sort of
Mark 1, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool to see as well. Yeah, I think it stands up. It's a movie that if you asked me, hey man, you want to go watch Iron Man, I wouldn't like balk at it. I wouldn't shirk away from it. I'd go, yeah, sure, man, that's a watchable movie. And
You see,
that's about as far as these movies go for me. When they try to get too preachy, I'm talking about it doesn't mean that a superhero movie can't be more than that. It certainly can, but the MCU movies for me are all very generic. And when they try to get overly preachy, and when they get too bogged down by their own self-importance, I tend to switch off.
mm,
Especially if it's Scarlett Johansson trying to emote and trying
very
to.
overrated, man.
Oh, dude, it's like. But yeah, I digress. So it's just a good by the numbers flick. Um, I like the dynamic between Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard, and that's about it. Yeah.
See, now I'm very, very interested to see what your number one is. So let me just hit my number one because I think your number one might piss me off. Now, this is my number one. And guys, you can hate all you want. Hate all you want. That's my number one. So, see, I was trying to be clever, machine. I was trying to, let me try and because I had Avengers at one, then I had Civil War, then I had Winter Soldier. Okay, let me try. Say no. Let's be real. What is the best MCU film? And ever since I saw this film, until after I saw Endgame, this still remains as being the best MCU film. And why so? I'm about character and I'm about story. No other MCU film better gave you the character than this. Because remember, see, Iron Man is different. Iron Man is about Downey Jr. It's not really about the writing of the character. It's Downey Jr. is the engine. Chris Evans is not a great actor. Remember, this is Chaplin Downey Jr. This is Kiss Bang Bang Downey Jr. This is the guy who was regularly on the 90 seconds and everything. Chris Evans is not a great actor. So it's even more so what McFeely and the writers did and what Joe Johnston did in casting him and giving him the material to really sell what is arguably one of the best comic book movie characters ever. So it is even a greater achievement what the filmmakers did with First Avenger than what was done with Iron Man, because Chris Evans is an average actor. Let's keep real. He's an average actor.
I don't think he's that man. He's not that average of an actor, man. Dude.
What notable performances does he have outside of the MCU films? Notable.
Notable. I wouldn't say notable, but he shows quite a bit of range with, for example, the character that he plays in that horrible movie, but he's funny in it. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's a really funny character that he plays. It's obviously an enhanced sort of satirical interpretation, but it's still funny. You really think you have a chance against an A-lister, bro? It's comedic. It's funny. And then Johnny Storm is wildly different than Captain America. And he was one of those few characters where you think, oh, this guy's perfect for Johnny Storm, for the Human Torch. But then you watch him as Captain America, and he's the perfect Captain America. As well. That's rare for an actor to pull that off, man. It's like you being the perfect Batman and the perfect Superman at the same time.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's like I still think as Johnny's. For me, I thought Johnny Storm, he didn't define that role. I feel that there are many other guys that could have done what he did as Johnny Storm, or even better. But I think as Captain America, it's just this is the role.
You didn't think he was miscast, did you?
In what?
For Johnny Storm, you didn't think he was miscast?
No. It's just that.
Good job.
other guys can do as well as the job. But for me, I don't know how many guys can do what he did in Captain America. See, I really like this film. I really like this film, Snowpiercer. But the star of Snowpiercer is Bong Joon-ho. It isn't Chris Evans. It's just the filmmaking. Yeah, he's decent in it, but he's not the best thing about it. He just does like he pretty much he just does like a serviceable job. So, and
You know
then
what I like about is, but we both appreciate his Captain America a lot, right? And I think there's one thing that he does, which is retain a kind of Boy Scout innocence in his eyes, and in the way that it is, in the way that he emotes, and in the way that
and I'm for me, that's why I love this film, because this film is what Superman is supposed to be. But they've botched it with that.
Can I just say something that you, because my number one is going to piss you off, because it's Captain America: First Avenger as well.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly that.
What?
Yeah.
No, come on, you're kidding. No, what? No, really. What is your number one?
It's my number one. Man, do you want me to screen share so you can see it?
What?
Yeah. No, it's absolutely it. So, like, we might as well just.
So we have number one.
Yeah, we so many wildly different lists that pissed you off a lot on the way there, but at least we agreed on our number one, man.
No, this is interesting. So no, please, because I have never met anyone who has rated First Avenger as highly as me. So please, the floor is yours, man. The floor is yours. I want to hear. I want to hear what you think.
Well, there's one thing that I think is undeniable to anybody who understands a narrative and cinema, even a little bit, which is that the first act of Captain America is by far the best first act in all of the MCU. Where the movie fails a little bit, it doesn't fail. I mean, it has like a very. I really like the casting of Red Skull, by the way. I think
I think I know where you're going, and I agree. I think I know where you're going.
Did a fantastic job, but it would have been by far, like far and away, the best film if they had the balls to end it a certain way, which they didn't. Which is at the very end when Cap is flying his airplane into the Arctic Ocean. They should have ended it. They should have ended it there.
No, please, just before you finish. Do you know what I do? There are times when I watch it, I just press stop. Yes. When he gets to Arctic Ocean, and I'm like, that's it. You see, everything else is just this whole MCU. And do you know why this film is so good? It is the most anti-MCU film. Because forget that bit at the very end, when he just lands into the Arctic Ocean and he does a whole sacrifice. That's a film. And do you know why I like the film so much? Again, I'm showing my age here. So Joe Johnston, he made The Rocketeer, which was around the thing in the 90s. And Joe Johnston,
that movie's worth watching for Jennifer Connelly alone. You can turn off. You can even turn off the sound. Just
look. I don't care whether you're only into South Americans, only into West Africans, or Middle Eastern. Jennifer Connelly in that was peak. So literally, if you hate white women and everything, your view will be changed when you watch her in that. Also, she's also pretty good in Dark City, just as she was quite young in Dark City, though.
I'll show you some other movies where she's just, for me, Jennifer Connelly is the. She must have been made in a lab or something, but that for me is the.
But for me, I still ride with Angela. Angela Bassett is just that's basically my thing is Angela Bassett. Which other one? This is Angela Bassett's Gabriel Union, old school Sharon Stone, and then we probably throw in Jennifer Connelly in there, man. I've forgotten her name. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten what her name is. Damn it. She was in the music video with 50 Cents, 21 Questions. Someone can tell me, what's the name of the girl who was in the music video for 50 Cents, 21 Questions? Okay, back to this.
Captain America, yeah.
No. So basically, I think.
But can I just say something? Think about how. That's why I mentioned previously that.
Sorry. I know. So basically, Joe Johnston, I believe he actually created the bounty hunter. So, from Star Wars, he came up with the concept. So Joe Johnston visually is a very, very strong director based on visuals. And the film looks incredible from a visual point of view. Because look, this is comic books, so visuals are key. Visually, the film just pops off like amazing. But what Machine was going through is storytelling and structure, beginning, middle, end. The story arc and the character arc from beginning to end in this is amazing. And it is unlike any other MCU film in terms of just telling a clear, concise, effective story that really sells all palettes of a character, but just the character arc of where Steve Rogers starts and where he ends. Beautiful.
Yeah, and also it's just such a relatable. The whole thing of him being a meek, but incredibly brave-hearted individual that finally, through his persistence and courage, really manages to become the hero that he really is meant to be. You know what I mean? And that's why that first act in particular is so well made.
Megan Good. Yes, Megan Good.
Megan Good. I'm not aware of her, but I will say this. So we were talking about that final scene, which we would have made the movie much more impactful. And why? And going back to why I think that the beginning of the Avengers movie is so terrible. Is because the beginning of the Avengers movie should have been the ending of Captain America, First Avenger, where you start Avengers with Captain America waking up from the ice, basically being being found in the Arctic. I mean, that's such a much it's so much more powerful than the cube in a lab and somewhere, and Loki shows up and steals it. I mean, yeah, they could have kept the movie much more. The ending would have been much more impactful, and also people would have wanted to watch the Avengers even more than they did. Because oh my God, Captain America's coming back. We want to see that, right?
No. Yeah, no. It's like it's basically. I think it's because it was under the kind of thumb of the MCU machine, which is why they don't really have enough leeway to really just make a film. Because I think that's why every filmmaker that it makes an MCU film, they have to go through the kind of MCU meat grinder, in a sense,
Right.
Which just doesn't. Wait, are you sniffing your necklace?
Because these leather things, it's a watch, and these leather things tend to smell kind of iffy.
Yeah, so basically, I knew that you were sniffing, man. So guys, look, man, that is top 10 MCU. Like it. Oh, people say that we didn't say Doctor Strange.
No, but Doctor Strange is not in my top 10. I mean, Doctor Strange really annoyed me in certain scenes. It was visually interesting. It could have been even more interesting. And the thing that annoyed me the most was just how much untapped potential there is in that film and that concept. It could really be like the coolest. It has everything that to be like the coolest MCU film, and instead it's just a completely generic by the numbers flick where
stole the balls right out of my mouth. It's incredible. It's a sorcerer. Realms,
yeah,
realms,
dude,
sorcery, wizardry. The it's endless the possibilities, but it just became very generic.
no, and by the way, like the thing that the fact that Stephen Strange uh, learned like high level magic in about 2 months, and that all it took is like flipping his hand around and to create portals and all that. I mean, that's so stupid. You should have been like in the comics, like dedicated himself wholly to like exploring and studying the occult, and slowly have become the master sorcerer, the sorcerer supreme.
Mm.
Not to do it just like for no reason. Not that's not bestowed upon him for no reason, as it is in the movie. I felt that was like such a cop out and such a weak way of going about it. You could have really extended that beginning sequence much more. You should have. I remember the scene where he goes up to like a basketball, a bunch of dudes playing basketball. And like, oh, by the way, I want the secrets to like what is the secret? Tell me about the secret teachings of all ages or something. And he's like, and the dude's like shooting hoops and like, oh, you got to go to this secret place called Kathmandu or whatever. And he's like, all right, let's go there. I mean, it's dude, it's
No, no. It's forgettable. I've watched it. I forgot most of what happened in that movie, man. All right, guys. So look, man. This is now the second part of the. Hope you enjoyed the whole top 10 thing. Guys, remember, hit the like button. Me and Machine are giving you top tier entertainment. Okay, Thursday nights belong to us. Your Thursday nights will never be the same again because me and Machine are giving you that quality, amazing content, man. Okay, we rule the waves here, man. And whether you like or whether you hate our picks or anything, we're still the best at this, man. So, the Snyder Cut. Machine, I want to ask you a question.
yeah.
Why? And I'm going to paraphrase from a tweet I saw, which I thought was amazing. Why are people so desperate to watch the cut of a garbage film?
I think it's just the dude. I'm as confused by it as you are, partly because you and I both know it's going to be just as bad, if not worse, than the atrocity that's already there, right? The Josh Snyder put together, or Josh Whedon, right? But I can understand that people are very intrigued because just by the fact that there is another cut, and that by all accounts it was wildly different than what actually came out.
Okay, Machine, stop there. How much difference could it be from what we got? Because this is the issue that I take with people. Because look, I watch a lot of films. I watch loads of films, and I watch loads of theatrical cuts, director's cuts, and everything. I've watched every single cut of Blade Runner, because Blade Runner created the director's cut. The director's cut comes from Blade Runner, which now everyone pretty much now has taken the lead from what Ridley Scott did. So I've watched many of them, and I've always said that the real Blade Runner is the ultimate cut.
Mm-hmm.
The real Aliens is the director's cut, but the theatrical cut isn't that much different. So this is my thing with this whole Snyder Cut thing, is because we're going to go deep into the DC and Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, but let's just deal with the Snyder Cut first. Joss Whedon didn't make that film from the ground up. He may have added a few things here, done a few things here, but he was working with filth that already existed. That filth contains Gal Gadot as one who can't act. A cardboard box can act better than Gal Gadot. Ben Affleck, who is a zero-dimensional actor, and Henry Cavill, who is living off of his looks, who is extremely boring and stoic. Machine, I know you have a career. Let me do the insults. So there's only so much that Joss Whedon can do to work with that trash, because I go on Twitter and I see these morons, these muppets, these sad, good-for-nothing losers who need to do something better with their lives, who are now attacking Joss Whedon by saying, hey, Joss Whedon, you loser. Now we now have Zack Snyder, who will now be a lot better. Because first of all, Joss Whedon, he doesn't even care. But I'm seeing people who are tweeting Joss Whedon and say, oh, what do you think about Snyder getting his stuff back? Because Machine, we're going to get to fanboys and cultists and cults and fanboyism, and how that is a sickness, a human sickness in people that has nothing to do with appreciating the art form. It's something far deeper and something far more obsessive.
Yeah, it's a tribalism that people latch onto. It's like, but we're all guilty of it, like, just think of it, just think of when we were kids growing up, and the whole Sega versus Nintendo thing. I know that we all took teams in that debate, and even some of the people that had both consoles ended up like dressing the jersey for one of them. And I was a Sega guy myself, but I secretly envied my Super Nintendo owners, And I would go there and play and enjoy it, but still go like, oh man, Genesis is way better. But
how old were you? You were young when you were doing this stuff, man.
Young, yeah. But I think that
as a CCM machine. So people of your age then are the guys who are pushing this whole thing forward. Because machine, I will be terrified if 30 or 40-year-olds are sleeping on social media, trolling Warner Brothers to get this out. These are 15-year-olds. These are teenagers. These are guys with nothing better to do in their lives than just to be behind this trash. But I want to address this right here. Say, was it really necessary to make a Justice League in the first place? And machine, this is the problem that these guys don't understand, is this whole Marvel versus DC nonsense. Marvel won. They won. And I don't know how I can explain this to DC fans. Marvel won. And all DC have been trying to do is chase Avengers. But I've always said that, see, if I was a production head of DC, I'd be like, they won. This whole multiverse stuff, they did it well. They did the groundwork. They structured it well. They won. What we can do that they can't do is Joker, where rated 15, R-rated, edgier, Batman Begins. We can go dark. They can't because they are owned by Disney. Let's focus there and let's do that.
Well, but you have a point. But you can also do much the same that Marvel did, and do have a shared universe, but approach it in a completely different way, where you go out and get auteur, visionary like filmmakers that really have something to say and really have want to put their handprint on a property, and let each of them sort of roam wildly with their interpretations of these characters. That's what DC could do. Where they shot themselves in the foot was not trying to emulate Marvel. It was giving the keys to the empire to this brick, and not getting a clue after Man of Steel, after his first outing, where you're like, what are you doing to the Superman character? What the hell are you doing? All right, you're out for the second one. This one did all right because it's Superman and it's bound to sell. But you can go fuck off now. All right, bye-bye. And not only that, they let him, after Man of Steel, they let him do Sucker Punch, which is one of the biggest bombs of all time. They still didn't get a clue after that, and that was sort of like what you call a vanity project. That was like his little cookie for doing a good job on Man of Steel, you know. And then after that, he does the outright atrocity that is Batman versus Superman, and they still give him another go, man. And they still give him another go. I mean, that's like that was where DC shot itself in the foot. Totally. It
No, no,
wasn't and trying to emulate the shared universe because you can't try to emulate the shared universe when you hold it off, and the way that you introduce it is in an email chain at the end of BVS, and somebody signs off on that. The studio head goes like, "All right, that sounds."
no, I mean, because again, it's like, which is why I made such a big deal about Avengers. The Avengers was such a success that DC literally dedicated their whole passion in doing that. And why did they get Joss Whedon? They wanted Joss Whedon to do what he did with Avengers. So you having a beef with Joss Whedon makes no sense because your beef should be with WB, who they hired Joss Whedon to be like, we want you to do what you did, what he did with Avengers. That's why they had him. But my thing is,
But excuse me, but Joss Whedon did nothing with the Avengers. Joss Whedon just directed it. He was just like a hired gun.
no. He wrote it.
Oh, he wrote it as well. Okay, but that's fine.
He wrote it.
Everything leading up,
That was key.
but it's everything leading up to Avengers that makes the Avengers work. I mean, I'm not to take away from Joss Whedon because you have to have an understanding. If you have an understanding of comic books, you know how to make the Avengers work. And Joss Whedon did. He was writing comic books prior to becoming the big director that he is these days. He had a run on X-Men and did a bunch. He was a major comic book nerd. So yeah, but he did that pretty well. So props to him. But that made the Avengers work as well, because they build up toward that. They had lots of time to introduce these characters and to keep nourishing them and making them more and more viable and more present in people's collective minds. As when the was announced, people were freaking out over it. It's just the very concept of the Avengers.
No, but do you know what's made the best explanation of Snyder is he makes extended music videos. That's what he does. He makes extended music videos. He doesn't make films. It's a collection of cool, sexy shots pasted together. Voila, that's my.
And I actually disagree that they're all that sexy and that visually is that appealing. I don't find anything. I mean, like even in BVS, everything was like way too dark. Like just lit dark. It was just there was nothing in terms of set design that was interesting. At least in Man of Steel, the Krypton scenes were cool, but that's about it. Ever since then, it's all like just not even visually. I don't think he's a good director. I think his best film, and I actually really enjoyed this film more than the original, which is crazy, is the Dusk Till Dawn remake. But the original was a seminal piece of work. It was like revolutionary in a sense. It introduced the very idea of the comic of the zombie. But I thought that the remake was actually really fun. With you remember it with Ving Rhames and
I think also with oh gosh, I wasn't that he was in Clockers, I believe. I watched bits of the film, but not the whole thing.
It has one of the guys from Modern Family, and it's just a fun ride. Also, I think it introduced the idea of the fast zombie. Like those zombies are actually fast; they'll mess you up.
Yeah, no, I only watched bit of, but not the full thing. But yeah, but see, my thing about it is,
This to say that everything's been thoroughly downhill from there, including
yeah.
300, which I thought was just passable entertainment.
So, because see, my confusion is, you look at Batman v see, Man of Steel is bad. That's just a bad film that's just confused. But look at Batman v Superman. That is genuinely one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. It is such a mess, such a flaming pile of trash, that why would you want to? What makes you think that his cut of Justice League will somehow be a masterpiece? And the scary thing is that why? Because
you know what? But you know why, HH? The answer is because as much of a flaming pile of garbage as that movie is, the truth of the matter is there's a fandom behind it. Believe it or not, there's a rabid fandom that defend those movies, the Snyder movies, as being good, and it's as confounding to me as it is to you. But that's
my thing is, I am disappointed in Warner Brothers in succumbing to this online pressure from this fandom, because you see, how do you make a Batman v Superman film that doesn't make $1 billion? Batman and Superman. So people that defend the film, just think for a moment. How do you make a Batman film with Superman, two of the most popular heroes on the planet, and you don't crack $1 billion?
No, you can't crack $1 billion. I mean, that's like, dude, you put it. That's absolutely true, man. It's like you have to be incomprehensibly incompetent.
Basically, the film, and because the film had such bad reviews, such bad word of mouth, that guys were like, "Yeah, I know I love Batman and Superman, but my gosh, these reviews are horrible." These reviews are horrible. And you see, the thing with Snyder is he plays to those fanboys. And those fanboys have no understanding for what a good film is, or appreciation for a good film and good narrative. Beginning, middle, end, story structure, pacing. They just want what I see in my comic book. I want to see this on films. Oh, big, huge fights, massive fights, big lines, slow motion. Yeah, that's all they want. But they don't understand that this is film and you are adapting to this format. Comic book is comic book, but this is now the film format, and you need to now adapt for this format, and there are different rules you need to play by to make a film.
But but listen, one of the things that really pisses me off on top of Snyder's incompetence is the idea and his insistence to subvert expectations by making choices that are completely out of left field, that make no sense whatsoever. Like, I'll give you an example. Lex Luthor, casting Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and that whole shtick. What the hell is that? Why would you do that? Like, what is the rationale? What are you adding to the character? We already know what Lex Luthor is. He's basically Jeff Bezos with an axe to grind against aliens, against Superman specifically, because he thinks Superman is an affront to human potential and to everything humanity is supposed to represent, and just hates the very concept of Superman. Can't grapple his head around it. But he decides to do turn him into this meek, nasally, stringy, high-wired, oh my god, it's Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. I love bringing people together, with this Mickey Mouse voice, dude. What the hell is that? Why?
No, because I was talking
Jolly Ranchers in people's mouths and shit.
Basically, I was talking to someone on Twitter, and they said that I liked, apart from Doomsday and Lex Luthor, I like Batman v Superman. I said, wait a minute, you can't just say apart from they are key to the film. Lex Luthor is the main villain, then Doomsday is the secondary villain. So if they are crap, God help your film, you know? Because remember, this is a same guy who cast Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, which is stupid. Ben Affleck as Batman, a guy who can't act. A model, a stick thin. If you're going to give me someone who can act, give me some curves, give me some boobs, give me some ass. At the very least, you know? So his casting is all over the place. So literally everything he did was so problematic. So, and as you said, the worst thing that DC did was you gave
Doomsday,
this guy full creative control.
even the character design of Doomsday, it's a straight ripoff of the Lord of the Rings troll. They're not. I mean, they weren't even trying. I mean, he must.
Machine, be honest with me. Machine, be honest with me. PS2 FMVs are better than the CGI we saw of Doomsday.
I mean, just atrocious, man. Just horrible. And I bet you was Snyder must have been coked up. You looked at the CGI artists were like presenting something. He was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Okay, whatever. It's just the last." You can tell like everything about the movie on top of everything else. So there's a degree of not giving a shit about the material, the source material, and not only just not giving a shit, but actively seeking to subvert it. You know what I mean? Like have Jimmy Olsen, who's Superman's best pal, supposedly, get shot in the face in the first 5 minutes of the film. What do you think that is? It's just Snyder telling people, fuck you. But the world is so twisted that even in doing so, so-called fans of Superman will still swear by this movie when everything about this movie and the one prior to it completely tears apart the core of the Superman character and everything that it should represent, you know, and tries to do so with other characters as well. While you know, every other character that the incorporate, I mean, he turns Batman into some kind of cyborg who like maims people and tortures them and kills people and like actively kills people. Like he did you see that scene, man? Like where he brands people with the bat symbol and shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so twisted. Another thing that's super twisted is Martha Kent, who's the most wholesome middle American.
Martha, don't say that name, Martha.
No. Well, that's bad enough. But there's this one scene where she's kidnapped, right? And Luther shows him Polaroids of Martha Kent, and she's like gagged and bound with like, I think it's horror written on her forehead or something.
Oh my god!
Twisted like some twisted S&M shit going down with Martha Kent, man.
No, because
why did you say that name?
Stupid. So, oh my gosh, they have the same name mother. Oh wow, let's do that as a plot point, man.
He doesn't kill him. So why doesn't he kill him? Because he says Martha, and he remembers. Wait a minute, do we have Martha too? Why did you say that name? Oh, okay. So we have the same mother. Okay, so I guess we're pals.
Actually, this would be one of the easiest lists to make, man.
This would feature.
Oh, this list would be. I could do this with my eyes closed, man. That list would be too easy. But see, Mushida, I want to talk about fanboys and the danger of these fanboys. You know, I hate Comic-Con.
You hate Comic-Con, the fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
have you been?
No, I've not been. See,
it's fun. It's fun. But I get what
I'd have loved to have gone before it turned into the crap that it is now.
Yeah.
When it was really pure, but like Comic-Con now is where these losers congregate, these fanboys. And for these fanboys, what they want is just power. Like there are guys who, in their mind, Marvel is childish, Marvel is crap, DC is the best, anything like that DC do is good. And they just feel a need just to protect DC. And that's what they see. See, for me, see, my thing, so if we go to the whole Messi Cristiano thing, you can still have arguments as to why Cristiano is good. Because there are things that Cristiano does that are very well. So he isn't crap. That's just being stupid. There are things he does very well. Batman v Superman is a garbage film. That is non-negotiable. So there's a case of like where, well, as a because you can't have a scene or a look. No, as a film, it's crap. So you defending it because it's DC doesn't make any sense. So
yeah, but I think the people genuinely that's all right. That's confusing enough for me, right? People just double and tripling and quadrupling down on something because of pure tribalism. It's even more confusing. Here's where it really gets confusing, and totally transcends me. Perplexing is what it is. The fact that some people genuinely enjoy it. A lot of people genuinely enjoy it, and that's where you just have to wave your hands up in the air and go like, all right, I rest.
And see, I'm trying to get into the psychology of, okay, I just watched this film, and this film is generally one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. How would anybody enjoy what I just saw? And
non-ironically, people like actually enjoying it.
No.
Enjoying it like they enjoy The Room.
No, for me. And I think, you see, The Room is different. You know why The Room is different? The Room is a horrible film, but it has become a comedy. And it is genuinely funny.
Yeah. There's way more merit in The Room to me than BVS, because The Room.
See, let's keep it real. There's a story. There are characters. Characters are interacting with one another. There is more structure of going from one plot point to another plot point. And Batman v Superman is a mess. It's a mess. Like, narratively, I'm like, okay, I'm halfway through, and all I've just seen are just scenes, guys saying lines, different setups. So you go back to your whole thing of why do you think people find this thing great? For me, it was already amazing before they saw the film. As soon as they saw that announcement at Comic Con that Batman v Superman, I have to like it. And why do I have to like it? Because of what Marvel have done. Because this is DC's thing. So as they're watching the film with different eyes. It's all I wanted to see is Batman, yeah, Superman, yeah, Wonder Woman, yeah, Doomsday, yeah, yes, yeah, we won, yeah. So they're not watching the film. They're just absorbing key aspects and convincing their brains it's amazing because they needed this ammo to fight Marvel. So
you're counting it in the whole tribalism thing again. I don't think that's. Do you think that's what it is? Maybe. I mean, maybe. I'm like, for example, the prequels. I can't fathom how anybody would, in their right mind, would defend them. Right. Anything other than outright trash. There was very few times where, like, I came out of a theater feeling like I lost 1 or 2 IQ points for having watched a movie. And Revenge of the Sith, which people actually claim is the best of the prequels, that happened to me. I was like, my mind was numb from how stupid the movie was. And BVS was another one. And Transformers 2, I had to walk out of because it was just... it was too much, man. Apart from being so stupid, it was also physically nauseating because Bay can't keep a camera still. You can't have like 2 people speaking with each other without the camera doing 360.
You know what, Machine? I'll be real with you. Like, the entire Doomsday sequence in Batman v Superman has to rank as one of the most brain dead, brainless.
Oh, but I walked out. That's when I walked out of BVS is in the sometime in the Doomsday sequence.
You know, I need to really do this whole walking out thing. You know, I feel that because I've paid for the film, I feel a need to just stay. But I'm like, because walking out is like a nice insult and a nice fu to a film. So, because for me, it's like that whole Doomsday sequence is like, this is a video game, but a really bad video game FMV. Because the CGI is awful, the choreography is awful. I can't tell what's going on. It's so like, okay, I don't want to. Okay, I'm trying to be as nice as I can, but I'm just trying to get into the psyche of these people. If you look at that garbage trash of the Doomsday fight scene where the CGI is crap, it's a mess. How can you come out and say, I want Justice League? Why? For what reason? And as someone said in this thing machine, why do we need a Justice League? Because as you easy, remember, as you said again, it's like, look at what Marvel did. Superman never had a sequel. Batman never had a film. Wonder Woman never had a film. But you're just shoving them into a Justice League and people will care.
No, but hold on, but they set it up well because the way that they did it in BBS, and I thought it was smart of them, was they had an email chain
Email.
where they show, it was the guy was looking at the email, and then you saw footage,
Yeah, like email attachments, open attachments.
open attachment, and I thought, yeah, it's cool that was in a script, and people said like, all right, that's fine, and nobody said, hold on, how are we going to make this exciting for people? And somebody must have said, we'll just we'll do like an electric guitar score, so like it gets the blood pumping. It'll be like dun 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 dun, dun while people are opening emails.
Oh,
There's idiots out there like there's brain dead idiots out there that are watching this going like, oh yeah, damn it, man, it's Flash, man. Did you see Flash? That's Wonder Woman right there. Oh shit, I'm pumped, man, for the next one.
it was, I mean, that is such a roadside brick way of presenting your just emails, email
But
attachments.
there are
Email
certain there are certain things, there's certain opinions people hold, right? And I hate to be so so like unwavering about this, but when you hold an opinion like you actually enjoy BBS, I can't. I'm sorry. You've laid all your cards to me. Like you can't be a very
Yeah, because you see, because people can find it harsh. There are certain films that if you say you like those films, it tells me a bit about you. For some people, like, look, you can like all you want and everything, but you know what it is? For people who liked Batman v Superman, I just want a conversation. I want a deep conversation for you to tell me, okay, please, I'm begging you, explain to me why you like this film because I am genuinely intrigued. I'm genuinely intrigued for anyone who saw the film that I watched and said they liked that film. They enjoyed that film. Because I'm like, you know what? Please tell me. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something. But let me ask you this, Machine. So if you were the head of DCEU or the head of DC, what would you do moving forward to sort of compete with Marvel?
I would do this. I would do.
Because
I, would, I don't
there's only one way to go. I want,
but
I want, I want to say that you will think it.
listen. I don't agree that the Joker model is what they should pursue going forward, because the Joker model, my feelings on the Joker. I think it's not the Joker at all, and what they did is almost as subversive as what Snyder did with his films, because it's really a fuck you. It's like a cash grab in the sense that they know that anything with the name Joker in it was going to sell like hotcakes. And
Yeah.
they decided to do what's this? HH and Machine Rip Trash Movies Apart should be a series. I like that. But what Todd Phillips did with the Joker is like he was interested in making a character study and a very important indie art house flick. That
Machine. Okay, what would you do? You've already insulted Mr. Todd. What would you do? Okay, what would you do?
just this, I'm trying to make my point is that what they did with that movie is they claimed that it lived inside the universe of the Batman, but it really didn't, because the Joker is like 30 years, at least a good 40 years older than him. And just from that alone, it makes no sense for them to coexist in the same universe. So you need to allude to a shared universe with these movies going forward. You don't have to have a laid out plan or anything. Just allude to people, for example, the existence of Metropolis, the existence of you might allude to Superman in this next Batman movie. But what you have to do that's different than Marvel is that instead of trying to create an homogenized aesthetic and an homogenized interpretation of this universe, so that everything feels homogeneic, and everything seems like parts of a bigger whole. Instead of trying to do that, you give much more creative freedom to the directors that you hire. You go and pick out the most promising young directors out there, visionary directors, people with music video aesthetics, usually like your David Finchers of the world or what have you. And you give them the keys to the empire for one go, not to everything. Just, do your own interpretation of this character. And then we'll try to like fit it within a broader universe. That's what they should do differently than the MCU. More creative, free reign.
I mean, no, basically, my thing is similar to yours, except screw the whole shared universe stuff. Literally, what you do is, based on what you said, self-contained films. Director, writer, beginning, middle, end, bye-bye. So let's make a film of The Dark Knight Returns. Make it a Dark Knight Returns, beginning, middle, end, gone. Death of Superman, beginning, middle, end, gone. Green Lantern come, beginning, middle, end, gone. So you're coming in and just making standalone films of these characters or certain interpretations of these characters, like Aronofsky coming, go wild, go crazy on Batman, go wild, go crazy. Like, fine, let's your boy do his own Batman film, which is what Matt Reeves is doing. Aronofsky come in, and this is going to be a different Batman film that is R-rated or rated 18. That's just self-contained, that has nothing to do with what Matt Reeves is doing. Because if you do these things, you differentiate yourself.
At the same time, you don't want them to go too crazy, where all of a sudden it's a total departure from the character, and the way that the Joker is a total departure from the Joker that we know. Back out of the visual iconography, where he's literally.
So for me, see, I still like what they did with the Joker, but okay, cool. To sort of win over the general public and the comic book fans, you probably need to get more connectivity with the comic book character. But I do want there to be creative freedom with whatever director that you bring, because in the MCU, they don't have any creative freedom there. They're all under the thumb and the whim of Marvel. So how DC can, in my opinion, because for me, I'm not a fan of MCU. How DC can be that MCU is I know you are giving true creative freedom and just making the best possible film with these iconic characters. I think I sort of mentioned this. I was Jim Caviezel, man.
Jim Caviezel,
and I would cast him now. Even at his age, I would cast him now as an older Superman, Jim Caviezel.
Oh, you know why I would cast him, even though I'm not really that much a fan of his as an actor, is probably the Mad Men guy.
John Hamm?
Yeah.
Too cheesy, way too cheesy. And I think for me, I think that is too obvious a casting. Like it's the obvious casting. I
You
think
certainly,
Jim Caviezel brings you so much emotional depth and would bring so much gravitas, and he basically he brings far more emotional baggage to the role than I think John Hamm will. But John Hamm is like Henry Cavill, but just slightly better.
yeah, I mean, Henry Cavill is very, very poor.
Yeah,
And
like Cavill is very bland.
he's got the blandest look. I mean,
Just
there's nothing going on inside,
boring.
which actually you could say that sort of works for like an alien, because he is effectively playing an alien. But the thing is, he's not even because he's got two ranges of emotions in those movies, which is angry and confused. If you look at it, he's either going like this or like this.
Yeah, no. And I think you see the issue with Henry Cavill is when you cast him, you're telling us what your take on Superman is. And I think this was the issue with Superman. When Brand Singer cast Brandon Routh, you are saying we are literally trying to copy Christopher Reeve because Routh literally looks like Christopher Reeve. So that's just what you were doing. And
It was,
when
Brandon Routh. I thought the movie was bad, but I didn't think he was a poor choice. Like he was. It's
no,
he.
but no, the issue with Ralph was he was a Christopher Reeve clone. So every time you saw him, you're just reminded of Christopher Reeve. And Superman Returns was a homage to Superman 1. It was. And Singer pretty much admitted it. Um, so when you now look at Henry Cavill, when you cast him, you're saying that we're now going back to the very one-dimensional kind of take and view on the Superman character, and you're not really doing anything interesting if you're casting a Henry Cavill. So the only way you can move forward is because the issue is that he has so many fans and so many people love him that you're just going to be stuck. Because the only way DC can move forward is you've just got to just Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, just X these dudes, man. You
Yeah.
know,
What's your take on what they're doing with the Matt Reeves Batman? I think it's already a recipe for disaster. Then from large.
um, you if Batman drives a regular car, I'm leaving the cinema.
It looks like he's driving a DeLorean. So if that's regular, huh?
Yeah, I mean, look, give me a Batmobile. See, I have no idea what to make. I have to see a trailer. Like, I have no idea because it's like Pattinson is an interesting actor, but he's an actor that needs the right direction. He
So
needs the right direction.
where did
So
this where did this Patterson love come from? I guess he did that David Cronenberg movie, and ever since then, people are saying he makes all these interesting choices, and
yeah, no. He's no because again, like Twilight was just what it was, and that was just an aspect in his life. He is a decent actor. He is a decent actor, but I think it's what Matt Reeves' vision of the character is. Because see, my fear is this: similar to what Snyder did with Eisenberg, is Matt Reeves trying too hard to be different from Nolan and Snyder? That's my fear. Because when you look at the Batman's costume, the Batmobile, I'm like, bro, okay, this is different, but I just being different for the sake of being different.
Mhm.
Because some of the stuff doesn't really make sense.
Right,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, for
like
sure.
what's your view on the whole Matt Reeves thing? Are you on board or not on board? Or
So far, I'm not on board on practically everything I've seen. From the casting of the dude, who I think is way too meek and way too frail, and I just saw a report of him saying, "You know what? I'm not down with this whole working out thing for Batman," which I think is already bad news. The other thing is his mouth is really weird. It's not a mouth that's good for everything being covered, and then only his mouth is being
Mm.
exposed. He's got no lips, and he's got those vampire-like teeth. That's weird. It's going to be weird to see that on camera unless they light it very ingeniously. He's not a guy that's going to look well in that kind of suit. He's not going to
Mm.
look. The other thing is the car. I mean, that was not a good look. And another thing is, I saw him riding a bike. These pictures, behind the scenes pictures,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and the ears look all wrong, and he looks more like the Watchmen character, the Midnighter or whatever his name was, the Owlman. Then he does look like the Batman. But who knows, man? I mean, this guy, the director, what is he known for? Planet of the Apes?
And Cloverfield.
And Cloverfield. I didn't like Cloverfield, and I did like the Planet of the Apes movies, but not for their direction per se, more so for the script. I thought was ingenious, and it was a little too heavy on the CGI. But whatever, maybe I'll be surprised, Maybe I'll be surprised. I remember thinking that the Joker casting was terrible, so
Yeah.
not this Joker, the Joker that turned out to be the seminal Joker interpretation of Heath Ledger.
For me, let me just really say is that he can't have the OG Batmobile at the beginning of his origin story. For me, my thing here is this: is that I don't give a damn what is or what isn't in the comics. You're still making a film and still making a character. There is no explanation you can give to me that a guy dressed as a bat is driving a BMW or a Buick or a Fiat Punto, and he comes out of the car. That is stupid. Okay, so there is nothing that me that will look stupid. A guy dressed as a bat is exiting a car and he's basically driving into like a regular car. So, hey, coming inside, there's like a two-seater here. He maybe has like the picnic thing. That's dumb. Origin or not, because remember, even if it's origin, he's still rich. He's still rich.
Yeah.
Begins is an origin story. Begins is an origin story as well. And he has a Batmobile there that looks like a device.
Yeah, but he does show up. There's this one scene where he doesn't have the costume yet, and he just puts on a bank robber mask, and he has the armor, but not the
Oh yeah.
the thing. So if it's, but that's what, like a minute of film. If that's what that is, then I can appreciate that. But I don't think that's what it is. I think it's proper.
So let's just round off with this whole Snyder Cut, man. Because I need to eat more meal and watch more Last Airbender. So
yeah. Is it good? Last Airbender?
Yeah.
It's good.
It's pretty good because basically I finished book 1. I'm now on book 2 now.
Is that an anime or you're reading the books? You're actually
it's the cartoon.
Cartoon. Okay, all right. I'll check that out.
Not bad. So are you happy for the people that they got the Snyder Cut? Are you happy for the people?
I'm happy, and I'll tell you why I'm happy. Not for the people. Who gives a shit about the people that actually made Snyder? I'm happy that they got the cut because that'll open the doors to more potential alternative cuts, which I'm all down for, and some that may actually be really worth watching. And we should be all about that. I really dig seeing director's cuts, and when studios release it, if I enjoy the movie, I'm a sucker for them. I always buy them.
But do you know what I've been hearing though, Machine? I've been hearing that a cut doesn't actually exist.
Oh, that they're making
actually going to be. That's why they're giving him 30 million for additional footage, because he's actually going to be filming more new stuff. So this whole thing of there was this cut, no, a cut doesn't actually exist. He just filmed stuff, but he didn't finish because of the tragedy that happened in his life. Had to step away, and Joss Whedon had to come in and fill in all the gaps. And obviously, he had a different kind of take on what he had already filmed. So it's not because it doesn't exist. Just that he's just going to finish off what he started in Justice League, which was crap. Because from the imagery and from what we already saw him doing in Justice League, because of what we saw in Batman v Superman, it was going to be garbage. Okay, so as much as, yes, I am happy for seeing people's visions realized, but Machine, I am here to promote good films, not more trash films. And this may sound harsh. I don't want trash films to be promoted. And I just think from what Snyder's track record is, these are trash films, and we should try and stop trash filmmakers making trash films and try and actually make them to be better and make them trained to actually make better films. Guys, it's been swell. I've got a bloodshot eye for some reason because I think I'm having a lack of sleep.
Yeah,
so,
completely. But thank you for joining in. And I know my list was a little off kilter for some of you guys. But
so what should we do next Thursday, man? Next Thursday.
You know what? I'd love to do top 10 villains, man. We mentioned it in passing, and I think, dude, I'd be all about that. Would you do that? Top 10 villains?
Top 10 what? Oh, villains. So movie villains, comic book villains, or just overall villains?
Shall we specify? I think movie villains is more interesting.
Okay, let's do it. I already know what my number one is, and it's going to be one you'll never think of. Yeah, I know what number one is. Oh, actually, I think I have.
Brigtop. I love Brigtop. The guy from Snatch, Alan Ford.
Oh, yeah.
He's awesome.
No, I know what mine is. But guys, look, man, it's been swell. It's been good. We will see you guys. Well, you'll see me tomorrow for another sharing topic. But you will see both of us next Thursday. Peace out. Peace. Become a Half Hope Sort member and gain access to exclusive videos and also the chance to watch films, anime, or different videos with your boy HH exclusively. Just click below on the join button to join in and become a Half Hope Sort member to gain access to these perks. Just click on the community icon over here to view the new members only posts just for you.